All right. Yeah, ready? Take it away, Joe.
BioShock was good. You have the floor.
I've played Final Fantasy.
Yeah.
Welcome back to Game Informer Show.
For
the sake of efficiency.
And
I'm Leo Vader. I'm your host this week and next for the holiday specials we're doing here.
Merit-based podcasting system, right?
Yeah, I lost a lot of points. With me today is Joe Jubba.
It's me.
Ben Reeves.
hello.
Jeff Cork.
I really do think you're doing so good, though.
Thanks, man. I mean, I'm nailing it so far.
Yeah.
Alex Stadnik.
We've peaked. This is it.
Yeah, here we are. We're here today to discuss the best games of the decade. This is our last chance to talk about it. We're almost out of the decade. Except, Joe, you have a problem with this whole concept, don't you?
Yeah, well,
Of decades.
let's not get into it.
Okay. But you think 2020 is the last?
I mean, I think if you're counting forward, one marks 1 year past, right? Mm-hmm. So then by the time you get to 2011 is 1 year into the decade. So then at the end of, when you hit 2021, that should be the end of that decade, right?
That's a fair take.
But I mean,
I personally don't agree with it. I'm glad it's represented here.
Like the 20s, you can't not include 1920 for that.
The Roaring 20s?
Yeah.
I'm just saying, Alex, when you start counting, if I say count to 10, what do you start with?
0, 1.
Yeah. Oh, okay. That's what everyone does.
You end at 9.
Okay, yep. And then you end at 9, yeah.
When a baby turns 10, how old are they?
Oh, no.
Oh God.
This is a trick.
Oh,
Think
man.
about it.
Well, with 9 months of being a baby.
Oh, well, I'm just saying,
Being
you
alive.
start
Well, no,
counting a person's age when
But
they're
here's the
born.
thing. They are 10 years old. They are in their 11th year.
They're starting their 11th year. Yeah, you're right.
Okay.
Okay. See?
Well, we solved it.
we
There we go.
did it.
Our plan.
And thanks for watching.
Our plan for this episode is we're going through every year. We're going to recap it. We're going to talk about what Game Informer's Game of the Year was. MinMax Games, great outlet. I heard they did a similar thing, but it's our magazine, so we get to do it too. But let's start at the beginning. 2010, we gave Red Dead Redemption our Game of the Year.
The first year of games.
The first
Ever.
year.
Red
Part
Dead
of the history.
Redemption was the best game.
Who was
Okay.
here at that point in 2010?
All of us,
think
yeah.
all
Three of us, yeah.
Right on.
Yeah,
were you all in
Leo, we
favor?
were here, right?
I remember that.
Yeah.
But not you radio guys.
No, we didn't have video. Didn't really exist in 1910. But yeah, 2010 or whatever it is.
Yep.
I was thinking,
Oh, boy.
Ben
Red
just
Dead.
realized this is not a joke, that he had a leaky pipe in his bathroom and then learned that there was lead pipe.
Yeah.
They had residual lead piping that they had to get
So
rid
in
of.
some ways, he is living in 1910.
That's right.
Yeah.
So I said, please keep it. I need it. I need it to filter my coffee in the morning.
Yes. Video games, though.
Yeah. Red Dead was a great game. I don't remember what else was out that year, but I'm sure it was for Red Dead.
Yeah.
I can go through it in a minute, but I'm curious if you guys were, in the
Yeah,
camp.
I'm fully on board with that.
I don't remember the discussion. I would not have been on board with it at the time because I didn't finish it
Oh, sure.
back then. I didn't finish Red Dead 1 until last year.
Does not finishing a
What?
game preclude you from being one of the most vocal advocates or
dissenters,
naysayers
yeah.
in a Game of the Year discussion?
It definitely does not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Should.
Ooh.
We've been doing this all
right.
wrong.
Anyway.
But here's the tough thing about that year. That was Mass Effect 2's year, also.
Oh.
That's what
okay.
the conversation must have
Bye-bye.
been.
Yeah.
We
Okay.
made the right
I'm sure
call.
that was the
Yeah.
discussion.
That's
yeah.
not. Yeah.
That would have been my call.
I think Mass Effect 2 is one of the best easily.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's a tough call,
It's
though.
one of the best, which also includes Red Dead Redemption,
Right.
which is the best.
I still went with Red Dead that year, I'm pretty sure.
Certainly.
Here's the question, I guess, though. Like, for all of the talk of how good Red Dead Redemption is,
Yes.
where does it beat Red Dead 2?
I like Red Dead 2 even more. Than
Me too.
Red Dead.
What about you, Ben?
I like Red Dead 1 better.
Oh.
But, I mean, I'm
How come? We'll get to me in a second.
mostly because I didn't like Red Dead 2. But
Yeah.
All right. Well, there
so
you
that's
go.
part of
That's
the
a
reason.
ding against Red
yeah,
Dead 2.
there was a little bit of a ding against them, but I really liked Red Dead 1. Game of the decade.
Game of the decade. I like Red Dead 2, and I think Red Dead 2 enhances my love of Red Dead 1.
Retroactively?
Yeah.
I agree with that for sure.
And I like Arthur Morgan as a character and how I played him better than John.
Yeah.
So
Joe, I'm most interested in your take because you played them so back to back.
Yeah, I guess for me where it stands is that I finished the original Red Dead and loved it. And was it last year or the year before when we put together the GI editors for our 300th issue put together basically like our top 10 games of all time, right? And I put the original Red Dead Redemption on that list, having finished it recently, thinking that is an absolutely great game. And when I finished Red Dead 2, it's not, in my mind, it's that top 10 list. It's not like I took off the 10th game and slotted Red Dead 2 in there somewhere also. I just bumped Red Dead 1 off. Like Red Dead 2 replaces Red Dead 1 in my list of favorite, top 10 games.
Sure, because it is Red Dead, but better.
Yeah, exactly. So,
I hear that.
like, it sort of, seals the crown in my mind.
At the time, though, Red Dead Redemption was a revelation. I couldn't believe how good that game looked for how massive its world was.
Yeah.
Cutscenes
And it was
especially.
fun to play,
It was fun to play.
That's a good quality in a game.
unlike the sequel. But yeah,
Get out of here.
Oh,
Was it that much different?
I think it was. Yeah, the pacing was way different. Like
When was the last time you went back
the
to Red Dead
original? The original was like more like a game. I mean, it was speedy, right?
Sure.
I didn't even mean that as an insult. I just meant like it was more of a traditional, like open world game
Versus
with
a cowboy
cowboys.
simulation.
Yeah, whereas the second one's going for a different pace.
Yeah.
sure.
By the
Makes
way, we
sense.
keep calling it Red Dead 1, but obviously
Yeah,
Red Dead Revolver.
It was Red Dead. Yeah.
well,
Yeah.
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 I wonder how many people have been tricked into buying Red Dead Revolver. Well, not tricked, but
I
like
thought that game was fun.
Hoodwinked?
I wonder how many people, feel a little cheated after seeing Red Dead Revolver and being like, "Oh, that looks cool. I'm going to try that," and then it's just like very something else.
I think you meant to say Red Dead Redemption. It happened with you right now. You said Revolver instead of Redemption.
No, that's what I mean.
No.
I wonder how many people.
I got you,
no,
dude.
okay.
I
Joking.
sniped you.
Oh, okay.
The other games of 2010.
Oh boy.
Super Mario Galaxy 2. Limbo.
That was a good one.
Call of Duty Black Ops. Fallout New Vegas. Heavy hitters.
That's a
Yeah.
great
Those are some
year.
good years.
Yeah.
Nothing except Mass Effect 2 is game of the year material there, though, I think.
That's what we still come up to these days. It's like tons of great games, but there's only 2 or 3 we're ever really talking about for game of the year.
Yeah. Yeah.
God of War 3, Halo Reach,
That's a
Assassin's
really
Creed
good
Brotherhood.
year.
Yeah, I did
Wait,
not
that
realize how
was
good this year was.
2010?
Yeah.
God of War
Oh,
3
man.
was probably in that discussion then.
Yeah.
Man.
Must have been.
The scale of that game was incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because we gave that a 10.
Yeah.
No, it came out in 2010.
No, I gave it a 10.
We gave it a
Oh.
2010. We also gave Mass Effect 2 a 10, I want to say.
Maybe.
I think.
I think deservedly so, right?
I don't know.
History vindicated you on that, probably.
Do
Just
we-
Cause 2, an all-timer in my opinion. Dead Rising 2.
Very good.
Oh, wow.
Dynamite stuff.
God, I just
It's a
want
good
to.
year.
There really was. Mafia
Yeah.
2 was fun. Vanquish.
What happened to video games?
Now what do we have? Fortnite.
Ah, the good old days.
Yeah, Super Meat Boy. I could really
To
just
me-
read this whole list.
That was 10 years ago. Isn't that insane?
Yeah,
That
that's
is
the thing.
crazy.
It's kind of mind-blowing to think, like, these are games that are now, like, celebrating their 10-year anniversaries, and it's just...
That's wild.
There's a lot of low-hanging fruit for features if you need an idea.
Yeah, that's true. That's
10
true.
years later, what has Limbo taught me about being an uncle?
Do not feed children to spiders.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Red Dead Redemption, was that the right call?
I think so.
Yeah,
Looking
I think
back.
so.
I still say Mass Effect 2, but what do I know?
Nah, see, like for me, I think Red Dead is the right call when compared against Mass Effect 2 in isolation. If you talk about like Mass Effect as a whole, as a trilogy, I think
Which we
that
are not
there's-
doing.
which we're not doing, but I like to do. Then I think it's more of a conversation.
You're the monster who put, like, hey, my favorite games of the decade, and you put the Mass Effect trilogy in there.
Yep, I think that's an okay thing to do.
Wow. Yeah, that's
Some men
another
just wanna watch the
conversation.
world
You're a
burn.
scoundrel.
Yep.
I respect the move, you know?
Yeah.
In my
Power.
top 10 of the decade, I put Nintendo games as number 4.
My top 10 was 50.
These 5 games.
Yeah, I mean, I understand. I understand the arguments against it, but for me, the arguments for it are stronger.
Because then it's like, well, if all 3 of these games are on my list, then that's 3 of my top 10?
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
the argument.
Yeah.
I have more spots.
Sure. I mean, yeah, I think by that
I mean,
perspective, I think it
that's-
makes sense.
That is part of it, but it's also like each one of those games is so dependent on the other ones for its quality. Like to me, it is even though they are different products that were released at different times, they are telling a like finite and contained single story.
Sure.
Yeah, they're telling a story, but that doesn't
Yeah.
make them the same one game.
No, I mean they are obviously not one game. They are released as different products. They have different features, but they are a single experience, and that's how I approach my list.
I enjoy this conversation very much, and we will never come to an agreement on it.
Yeah, we will learn.
2011.
2011.
That's when it all fell apart.
Skyrim.
Skyrim. Yeah, there we go. He gets it.
Got it.
I'm sure that was probably one of the easier years for us. What else came out that year?
Well, it was
Portal
the best,
2.
It was the best RPG of all time. You
Portal
can't compete
2,
with that.
way better pick for Game of the Year than Skyrim. I'm
But
saying.
what?
I
saying
don't
it.
think we
No.
even talked about it.
Portal
I
2
think-
is a perfect game.
I'm-
Skyrim is the farthest thing for a perfect game. Very cool, very
Solidarity.
ambitious. Portal
Yeah.
2, flawless.
Portal 2 is amazing.
I'm saying it.
Yeah. Well, we never rolled into a scene flying backwards. Checkmate.
Checkmate.
Skyrim.
Yeah. Yeah. But
man.
Skyrim, huh? Good game.
I think that's. I mean, I still think that's the right call. I talked about this on. I think this was on the podcast just this week about how there are some games like Skyrim that release with a lot of bugs,
Yep.
but on some level you judge how, like the severity of the bugs and how much that impacts your enjoyment of the game is important.
Right. And for me, it was playing it on PS3, and the more I played it, the
man.
worse it chugged
Yep.
as the save got bigger.
This
That
is
was
why we're not going to
seriously
proofread our
game-breaking.
magazine anymore, because it's the intent that matters.
The vision.
No, it's not. It's not just that though. It's the fact that like if I think in using that analogy, it's the same reason why we don't. Well, no, we don't get bent out of shape when like there's a comma missing somewhere once the magazine goes to print, right? You still read the sentence; it still makes sense. Obviously, if it gets to the point where it just is terrible and clunky and unreadable, then you have a problem.
the
I
PS3?
don't. For me,
Yeah.
Skyrim didn't get there, and it was just like everything that was so good about that game outweighed the problems.
Yeah.
For me, in my experience.
Yeah.
I didn't truly fall in love with it until I got to mod it on PC, and I made it a bit more
Yeah.
the kind of experience I wanted, of like more survival, actual
Yeah.
cold mechanics, and I thought
Oh,
those were really
interesting.
nice.
Like that fan
Love that.
patch that basically stepped in to where Bethesda did not. Like
How so?
just
Just
fixing the
fixed
game.
it. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, that's a very Bethesda thing.
It is crazy though. It's like what 9 years later, and there's still people out there putting out mods for Skyrim that do some cool things. Still, like you can go back and play that game now for the first time or just again, and have a different experience with it with mods.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny to me, Leo, that you look for mods that make it like more challenging or restrictive. Whereas what made me love that game when I played it again on PC is that like the first thing I did is like find me a mod that just gets lock picking out of this game.
Yeah.
Like, makes it a non-factor. Find me a mod that makes encumbrance a
Yeah,
non-factor.
I can carry whatever I
And
want.
and once I did a playthrough with those things, I was like, this might just be the best game, period.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, the other mod I liked was You Are Not the Dragonborn. And you spawn in a random city, and you don't ever get the ability to shout. You can do the story up to the point where you're at the top of the mountain with
Really?
the monks, and you just can't shout for them.
That's kind of awesome.
That's incredible.
It's excellent
I'll
because
see
I do.
myself
That is
out.
a great world.
But you can do so many other things. You can do all the other side quests. I bet.
All the other guilds, yeah, totally.
Well,
Yeah.
let me know if the Dragonborn comes. I'd love to help him out somehow.
Yeah, you were just born 10 years early, too early,
Right.
so you never met him.
But then, but from that perspective, historically, that game is still very present in our culture. Certainly has not been forgotten, unlike Dead Island from 2011, to pick one at random. 2011, also a pretty good year, though. We got Batman Arkham City, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3, LA Noire, Uncharted 3, Dark Souls. That's
pretty good.
Started something. Saints Row the Third. Mwah.
That was a great game.
Oh, that was
Baby.
that year? I love that game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where
It's
was it
very
on
good.
your top 10, do you think?
I have no idea. I have no recollection of it.
I think
Pretty high.
Reiner was fighting for Arkham City as Game of the Year, though.
Yeah. I could see that. I think that's a
Cities-
great game. For some reason,
Yeah.
I just always bounced off it.
City's my favorite Batman game. I would still say Portal 2 that year, but
Yeah.
that's me. Yeah.
Bastion also. I
Bastion,
adored that game.
great game.
Yeah.
See, I don't know. I feel like Portal 2 lost a little bit of the focus that the first one had.
Yeah.
Like, when the first one was okay with being like, hey, this is like a 3-hour game. You're going to just do some like really intricately designed puzzles where nothing's going to overstay its welcome. Then I got to that part late. There's that part late in Portal 2 where it was you're doing some like bouncy surface stuff, right? Isn't there some like
blue
you're
goo?
like you're like gooing up
orange
walls
goo,
and stuff,
yeah.
and I was just like, this doesn't feel like Portal to me anymore.
Yeah, like that
Did
stuff?
you question? Did you play it in co-op at all?
Yeah.
Okay, all right,
Yeah.
never mind.
There's a whole like separate campaign for that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I
And
finished that.
infinite community maps on PC and co-op. I will beat that drum every time this game comes up because they're so much fun.
Oh.
We should do them on video here at Game Informer sometime.
sounds
I
fair.
love them so much.
I would love to check that out.
But I totally see your point about the lack of focus, but I personally, it enhanced it for me having this plot being moved along as I moved through these levels. It kind of gave me that drive a bit more to keep doing them besides just their innate fun factor.
Yeah. I don't know. I guess for me, it's like the original one felt like a great exercise in restraint, like a little bit of humor, a little bit of character,
Don't
a
make
little
me laugh too much.
a little bit of story. Well, no, but
I
I
don't
mean,
want to
like,
enjoy this too much.
you know how it is when, let's say, someone's in a room like telling a joke and they get one laugh, so then they like double down on the same kind of joke again and again.
Borderlands 3.
Let's not spoil our 2019 Game of the Year.
Portal 2 felt a little like that to me, where it's like, okay, we got some laughs with these techniques before. We're going to overstay our welcome with them a little bit.
I
And
see where
think
you're coming from.
Skyrim was a good exercise in restraint on bug fixing. It's like they didn't want to go too far out of
Let's
hand,
not
make
more.
it too good.
It's not one versus the other. I'm just saying.
Yeah, no, I think your points are fair for sure. I just feel the other way.
I think, I don't know, Legacy. I like maybe in my heart I want to go Portal. Honestly, maybe on my personal list. I don't disagree with putting Skyrim on the number one.
Sure, not a wrong choice.
Yeah.
Bulletstorm also 2011.
That game's great.
Oh, late entrant for Game of the Year right there.
Yeah. Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword. Did we give that a 10?
That was that year.
Yeah, that's 2011.
Yeah, we gave that a 10.
That was given a 10.
That was given a 10.
That is correct.
I think each year we had 5 10s that we were required to give out. Or under penalty of death.
Stipend.
I don't think, no, we haven't given any this year.
Not this year.
No.
The money ran out.
Try as I might.
Bad year for games. Rage 2011. Infamous 2 2011. Need for Speed The Run. Cars 2. Tell me when to stop here, guys. Duke Nukem Forever.
I think
Are we
we're
at
safe to go on
2012
to
yet?
2012. Yeah.
Okay. Less of an amazing year for games, but there's some heavy hitters for sure. And I will keep using the word heavy hitters.
For sure.
2012. A little game called Mass Effect 3.
Yeah, that one Game of the Year.
Game Informer
That
Game of
was
the
a
Year.
contentious year because that was also the year that XCOM came out. The original Firaxis release.
That's
XCOM
tough.
Unknown, which was that was what I was fighting for. And we had like it was like quietly because like I think Andy and Reiner wasn't even on their radar. And so they went into that meeting not even like thinking anybody would say XCOM. But then there's a whole section of the staff who was like fighting for XCOM. And they're like, oh, I didn't realize there was all the support for XCOM.
Yeah.
What did we end up giving it to that year?
That's Mass Effect 3.
Mass Effect 3.
Yeah.
Which I think was the wrong choice.
That feels like when the Academy Awards is like, the Return of the King gets the Oscar
Yeah.
for Best Picture, where you're like, you're just grandfathering in because
Yeah.
of like the conclusion of a series, even though that was one of the weaker.
Well,
like
as
Leo
we
for
learned, you measure
Revenant,
them
yeah.
all together.
It is one
Yeah,
cohesive
so
unit.
that
That's
makes
right.
sense.
I mean, because I think of it that way, I don't in that case necessarily think that's a bad approach to take with it.
Well, I mean, we could have measured XCOM and XCOM 2 together, and in that sense, I think it would have won.
Reeves, you've got to let it go, man.
I can't. I can't let it go. It still hurts.
What other better games came out that year, real quick, Leo? Give
Better
us
than
one
Mass
that-
Effect 3?
Yeah.
Oh, was that the Journey year?
Yes, it was. 2012.
Oh, dear.
Dishonored came out that year. The Walking Dead originally. Yeah. Halo 4. Isn't it weird to think Halo 4 was
Whoa.
already old in 2012?
That's
Halo
wild.
was an
Yeah.
ancient franchise at that time. That's wild. Far
I
Cry
remember-
3.
Oh, wow.
There were a
Game
handful of
changer.
people who went with Journey. There were a handful full of people who went with Dishonored. Like that was kind of the divide.
Yeah.
Was
Yeah.
Borderlands 2 that year?
Yes, it was.
Oh. I'm sorry, I'm looking over your shoulder.
Oh,
at the
we had
computer.
already forgotten about Borderlands even in 2012.
Hey man, I like Borderlands too.
Borderlands 2 was
great.
certainly
Yeah.
the peak. Yeah.
Yeah.
Certainly.
Yeah. I don't have a strong opinion that year. I think Mass Effect makes sense to me, but Journey, I haven't played Journey though, so that's my asterisk there.
XCOM was the one thing that blew me away that year.
I think
for
in
sure.
2012, Alex's Game of the Year was Blocks.
You put one on top of the other?
They
I may
snap
have
into place.
graduated high school that
They're
year.
Duplos, all right?
We also had Spec Ops The Line. Zombie U.
Oh, dear.
Oh,
Fez. Max Payne 3. Mark of the Ninja. I can't believe that's so old already. Mark of the Ninja still
I love
feels
that
fresh.
game. That game's great.
That game is really good. Sleeping Dogs 2012. That would have been high up there
that
for me.
would
Sleeping
be-
Dogs is a good one.
And looking back at it, I think I should have thrown my vote away instead of Sleeping Dogs.
What? You did? Well, you were voting for Journey.
Yeah.
You'd put Sleeping Dogs above Journey?
Yeah. I like Sleeping Dogs a lot. It's great.
That's a great open world game.
It really is. It
It
holds
is.
up.
It holds up really well.
In a sense, it's its own journey.
You're not
Kind.
wrong.
Yeah. Remember when Emma Stone was in that game?
Yeah.
Lucy Liu.
Yeah.
Very strange.
Yeah, they had a real weird romance element in that where it's like it was. I think it was supposed to be there. You can sort of court different women.
Yeah.
But then time and budget or whatever
Yeah.
ended up figuring in, and it's just like, okay, you just have like 3 quests with all of these women as part of the story, basically.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then, that was strange.
Then your phone doesn't work anymore. What?
yeah.
Oh, well.
Hey, lose my number, punk.
Yeah.
Animal Crossing New Leaf was that year. Hotline Miami 2012. I think there are. It's funny seeing certain games like Hotline Miami or XCOM on these lists and being like, oh yeah, that was kind of a turning point. I feel like for that genre, like for its popularity, how many people were making games like it.
We were starting to see more indie games pop up too. It was
Yeah.
like the rise of indie, and like more and more indie games are showing up on our personal lists.
Yes, you're sort of maybe seeing the result of that. This is already way past things like Braid and Castle Crashers,
Yeah.
but sort of the success of those games inspiring people to start indie games that maybe are now releasing.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. One thing I want to say about the Mass Effect 3 choice is, well, before we get into it, is like this is, I think, one of the most interesting cases of a sort of divide between what it seemed like the attitude about that game was here in the office versus the attitude among the community.
Because everybody hated that ending.
Yeah.
It's like everyone
universally.
here who I talked to that I remember, it seems like people were generally positive on that ending here. There was no one on staff who was like, "Oh, that's a disaster." If they were playing it like, around the time the game came out, everyone was like, "That is a good, satisfying ending to that season or to that series."
Do you remember if a lot of people played it before launch? Because I feel like sometimes it's not like hive mind, but it's like people point out flaws that you then notice when you're playing a game that everybody feels so strongly about.
I was playing it right when everybody else was playing it. And the fervor had already happened, and I remember I was like, I got to get to the end before it gets spoiled for me. And so I finished it, and I was like, that's what everybody was complaining about? Yeah, I was like, I don't think it was the most artful ending ever or anything. I think there were things that felt rushed to me, but I didn't have if nobody online had complained about it, I don't think I would have played it and been like, oh, what a sucky ending. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought it was weird, but
There was some.
yeah.
Sorry, Alex. What was that?
I was just going to say, it just didn't ruin that journey for me throughout that. You know what I mean? Like, some people made it seem like it tarnished the entire series, and I was like, no. Like,
People get that way about all sorts of endings, and you
Yeah.
got to remember how much you enjoy individual pieces of it.
Yeah.
Like, you can't judge it
Yeah.
all on how it ends.
And I think some degree of it has to do with expectations too. Like I think that for a lot of people who are following the game and reading quotes from BioWare, Casey Hudson did absolutely say like, "Hey, this isn't going to be an ending where you choose A, B, or C," and then
Oh, boy.
it's an ending where you choose
Red,
A,
blue,
B,
and
and C.
green.
Like when framed that way, like
Yeah.
yes, it's like that. Except as I was playing that game, I didn't view the ending as the ending. I saw the whole game as an ending, and I think I think one of the reasons people were so upset by it is that at the end they wanted to see a more definite payoff for the multitude of choices that they made along the way. They wanted that at the very end.
Yeah.
And I guess I saw the whole game as that payoff in different ways.
Is the third one the one where you
But-
see Tally's face?
Oh yeah, that sucks.
There was all kinds of stuff like that where it was
Yeah.
like, this is the third entry in a blockbuster series, and you're very clearly cutting corners in ways that are inexcusable.
Yeah.
Whereas
Also-
here's some clip art that we've used.
Tally's face was clip art?
Yeah. It was like modified stock photo art.
Wow.
And there was a planet that I remember, like a view of a planet that was also modified Shutterstock kind of stuff. It was just you don't ever want to say oh, people are lazy or whatever. And everyone's on a time crunch, but when you're doing something as profoundly impactful to the series as showing what one of the characters whose faces had been obscured up until that point,
Yeah.
have someone that you know
Someone make that face.
make that face.
Yeah. For me,
Yeah.
the biggest misstep that I remember with that game is at launch, and I want to say for at least a couple weeks afterwards, it was not possible to import your shepherd's appearance. Do you guys remember this?
Yeah.
I played on 360, and it would not. You could not import like character facial data.
Yes, yeah, because I had to redo my character that I've had since Mass Effect 1.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
But
wasn't
it brought
great.
over all your other stuff.
Yeah, like it brought over your choices and your information, but when it came to like this is how your shepherd looks that you've played with for the last 2 whole games, I was like, bah, no, it isn't.
Just have a car
And-
crash and say plastic surgery.
So then
Yeah.
the answer was either like, well, do you sit there and they did that in Mass Effect 2. That was their answer. But like, yeah, for Mass Effect 3, it was either like start with this weird looking shepherd or just like wait and hope that they fix it. So my shepherd looks a little weird in 3. I don't love that.
I will say the moment with Morden on the Krogan homeworld though was very good.
Yeah, that's
very,
fantastic.
very, very good. One of my favorites of the series.
Yeah. I didn't touch that series really beyond. I kept trying Mass Effect 1 over and over again, and people say just jump to Mass Effect 2 if you don't like Mass Effect 1, but it feels weird.
You only identified with that Ashley character, right?
Right. That's the problem.
Yeah, once she was out of the picture, I was like, there's nobody I connect with.
But Mass Effect 3, very divisive.
Oh,
Obviously, I think it's EA's got him by the throat. I'm excited to see what BioWare does next. I'm sure it's going to be great.
Yeah.
After Mass Effect 3.
XCOM, still a better series.
XCOM would be my pick for the game of the year that year. I think it's fantastic.
All right.
On to the next
Then
one.
it's settled.
And I will not hear otherwise. 2013, The Last of Us.
That was an easy year. That was nice to
Yeah.
have like a,
Yeah.
hey, we're pretty much all voting for this one. We're done.
Yeah.
But that was GTA 5's year. It was that unanimous in the office?
It was that unanimous.
Yeah.
I think Reiner was like, but I like GTA. And we were like,
Really?
I remember pretty vividly, like, we did not really have a discussion.
2013 is an awesome year. You should read some of the other ones though.
I'm taking a glance right now. There's
Yeah.
some real good ones.
Yeah.
I mean, if that was the GTA 5 year, that just blows my mind.
You were there. You don't remember?
I don't. I honestly don't. I remember. I mean, I do remember The Last of Us being the like general consensus, but I guess that surprises me now, in retrospect, knowing the reverence that people like still have for GTA 5 and the way people in this office talk about it. Versus,
Well, that's because they have more distance from it, I think, probably.
Yeah,
they don't
that
remember
could
that
be.
story quite so vividly.
that could be, and that isn't just like people around here love The Last of Us also. But if you were to tell me like which of those games had the bigger impact on like this generation,
Yeah.
I remember walking out of like GTA 5 being a little disappointed actually. Like I remember like I was really excited for that game and like I think it does some cool things. Tech wise, I love zooming out and like jumping into another character, but like
Yep.
outside of that, I don't think I liked it as much as I liked even 4.
good variety in the missions, like impressive amount of variety, but I didn't care for the story of the characters.
And we hadn't really dove into online too much by then. Didn't it take a while
It was
to come
so
out?
broken at the start.
it was crazy
Yeah, it
broken.
was
I remember
rough.
staying up all night to play online with my friends, and then when you were lucky, you would get in an empty server with a random character you didn't make, and
Yeah.
you could just punch NPCs, and that was pretty fun.
You could do that in the single player game.
Yeah, but it was cool being my own guy and not one of those stupid characters I don't like.
Come on.
Bioshock Infinite was 2013.
That's what Ben said earlier about how it's, I can't remember what game, but his personal list, BioShock Infinite was mine. We had in my dorm room, because I'm a child, we had
Doogie
like
Howser.
A crib.
we
for me.
all we
Mobile.
we get it. I'm young. My buddies and I had all played it in my suite, so we had like the red lines going to everywhere, like dissecting the ending. And I have very fond memories of just discussing it and going over it. And I didn't have a PlayStation at that point, so I was like, "Last of Us, what's this?" So
That seems fun.
You do a really good
That's-
Neo too, by the way.
That's how you talked when you were a baby?
yeah,
I bet Bioshock Infinite was my personal game of the year that year.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
It's funny that I remember that more than you do, but I remember you saying like, it's BioShock. I think that has a good shot. And like, I don't think anybody else said BioShock.
No, it was probably only me, which, I mean, again, in retrospect, against those two games, I get it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
man, I really did love BioShock.
I think BioShock Infinite, I wish, I'd like to see an alternate reality where that game was just, I would like to see it where it was like stealth released, where you didn't have all that pre-release coverage, all those trailers, all those presentations. So I think for me at least, there was so little surprise left by the time BioShock Infinite came out that it would have been nice to have gone into that blind.
Besides the very end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's even a case where someone, never mind.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Great.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Well, that's wonderful. Yeah, I wasn't crazy about it at the time. I thought it did some interesting stuff, but yeah, I was like, stop making me fight. I just want to do the other stuff.
I did not like the skyhook at all.
Really?
I liked it in concept. Never really felt right.
That's
for me.
exactly where I was. It would, like, conceptually, it seemed interesting, but
It seems like they had trouble like designing combat encounters that used it effectively.
Yeah.
Right?
exactly.
Yeah.
I can see that.
Sorry to interrupt you, Jeff. That was rude.
No.
Tomb Raider, also 2013. That
That's
started the
right.
reboot.
That's a good one.
Great game.
That is
Yeah.
a great
Yeah.
game.
That's one of those games that has that little thing where when you jump, you can steer yourself in midair, and it makes every second of traversing so much more fun.
Yeah.
It's like, why doesn't every game do this? Like
Yeah.
coming from Uncharted, it's like, this is such a better way to do it.
I didn't realize that game, Tomb Raider, came out the same year as Last of Us. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Because they ended up, they're not exactly the same, but thematically they have some.
they are.
Well, they're basically the same game, is what I'm trying to get at. I don't know if I've hammered that home, but they do feel thematically similar. in
There's
some
a girl
areas.
with a bow.
Yeah, that's where I was
And that's a lot of what our text
That
for our
and-
Game of the Year entries said back then.
basically equivalent to Horizon as well, I think. Zero Dawn.
Yes, exactly.
We'll have a conversation about
Same
that
game.
in a bit here.
Assassin's Creed Black Flag,
I like
Super
that
Mario
one.
3D World, Papers, Please, 2013.
So polite.
Yeah. Gone Home was 2013. Another one where I see just, oh yeah, that was the start of something.
Oh, was that-
Quote unquote walking simulators.
Yeah.
Was that the year of Beginner's Guide then as well?
Oh, that must be newer than that.
You think so?
Yeah. I'll look it up, but please, Vamp, please.
I remember having a conversation with, I think it was Andy, about comparing Beginner's Guide to Gone Home for some reason. And maybe that was a different list meeting, but
Beginner's Guide was 2015.
okay.
What about Stanley Parable?
Yeah, that.
Look it all up, Leo.
Look it up.
Those are all similar. I mean,
2011. That can't. The original was 2011. Standalone must have been later.
huh?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, 2013. No. I'm scrambling. 2015. No, 2013.
Oh, it's falling apart.
Yeah, 2013 was the release of Stanley Parable.
All right, well,
standalone.
anyway. Gone Home.
That was
Gone
another
Home.
very
Gone
good game.
Beginning of sort of a new era for those kind of, everybody calls them walking simulators. I know some people hate that term, but
I do.
the sort of non-combat
Yeah.
game.
And it's funny. It's cool seeing like What Remains of Edith Finch. I feel like is still the standout in that genre.
So
and
good.
best.
Yeah, you don't. You know, I don't know if that game exists without Gone Home. You kind of see those steps there, but Edith Finch is just like
It
the
is
peak
so
of
good.
that genre for me, for sure. Saints Row 4, 2013. Went back to that recently. Still plays great.
It's so good.
Yeah, I love games of that era that just. You know, it was before animations had to be perfect for everything. It was all about how good it felt to move around.
Yeah.
Well, their animations were good in a lot of cases. Like there was an element of just like running straight into a car and diving right through the window, and then you're
Yes.
immediately driving.
Yes.
Like that instantaneous. I bet you could go frame by frame and it'd look kind of janky, but it felt so good, and you
Yeah.
were willing to forgive what it looked like
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
it was silly, but then also because it just like immediate gameplay.
Yeah, and you could do it in Saints Row the 4, but Saints Row the 4th, no one has ever done it because you can fly
Yeah, you
around
just
the city.
fly.
Yeah.
Which to me, Saints Row 4 is great, but it didn't quite hit what I loved about 3, partially because of that.
Yep.
Because one of the big rewards in 3 is like, hey, I got this funny tank I can drive around, and I got this cool car, and like some of the big rewards.
Or the jet.
Yeah,
Flying
some of your
motorcycles?
biggest rewards in that game were the like vehicles and the weapons you were getting, and it felt like in Saints Row 4, there was never really any other incentive to use those things because of the powers that you had, right?
Yeah, I think so, yeah. But it's just different goals, right? Like,
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
it's great
yeah.
in its own way.
Is there another series that has gone through just such a slow transformation from one thing to the next? 'Cause the first Saints Row was such a wannabe GTA
Yeah.
clone took
Yeah.
itself very
Trying to be
serious.
Saints Row 1 and 2.
Yeah.
Well, two, I
Two
guess
a little more
two,
flavor.
two got into more silliness, but yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it was really trying to be like this. The GTA also ran
Because it got to next gen before GTA
Exactly.
did.
yeah,
Yep.
Like, and I think it was a huge success because of that.
Yeah.
But then-
2013.
But yeah, then they found a stride.
But
Yeah.
we were like, insurance fraud is like the best thing. We
Yeah.
should make that entire game.
Yeah, when are they going to make it a standalone insurance fraud?
I would love that so much.
Call of Duty Ghosts, 2013. Beyond Two Souls, 2013. Dead Space 3, 2013.
Oh, I like that
I
one.
like that game.
Okay, great. Devil May Cry, DMC.
Oh, I did like.
Oh
that.
yeah, the Ninja Theory one.
Yeah.
That was a great game.
Box. Oh, never mind. Tearaway, 2013. Anybody remember that game?
Yeah.
That was a cute game.
Iota.
I don't think I ever played Tearaway. Actually,
It's adorable.
Yeah, just to think I was playing the Vita in 2013.
I think
Fond memories.
Wild.
I think I remember one of my fondest memories of Tearaway is like our top 10. I think it was our top 10 dorks list. We put the
Oh,
sun
Leo for playing
from Tearaway. Yeah, we put Leo. Well, we kind of did because we put the sun, and if you remember, the sun in Tearaway was you. It took a picture of you with the Vita camera.
I feel like it's like every other year, or maybe like every 2 or 3 years, one of the entries on the top dorks list is you. For some reason,
We're very
right?
smart.
Where
some
it's
way, yeah.
like whether it's you because of the way you look in VR, or you because your dumb faces in this game.
Yeah.
Was
We've done it before.
It was last year. It was like Kyle while playing Beat Saber.
Yeah,
or
it was
something
the
like
image.
that.
Yep,
That was
yep.
pretty good.
Yeah. Rayman Legends was 2013.
That's a good one.
Yeah. Tom Clancy's Splinter Cell Blacklist. Anyone?
Oh, I like that game a lot.
Yeah, I
me
did
too.
too.
I want
Mark and
more
execute.
of that.
Yeah, that game made it onto our top 300 with no dissenters. I was surprised how easy it was to get it on there because I was about to fight for it on our top 300. Blacklist is one of the best that genre has ever
Maybe
had.
everyone just thought you were talking about a different Splinter Cell game.
We thought you were talking about the show Blacklist.
Right.
Yeah, it's a great
right.
show.
2013. Besides that, I mean, we got what? Rise, Son of Rome. Anyone?
Launch
I enjoyed
game.
it. I wouldn't say it's game of the year, but
Okay.
I like that game.
Well, I'm saying it's Game of the Year.
Oh, well.
So a few heavy hitters and then kind of a few stragglers. But
don't
Last
know.
of Us seems like the standout
I was
still.
gonna say, but the highs were high. I
Yeah,
feel like.
definitely. Like a lot of all-time classics in
Yeah.
there.
I don't know. That seems like a tough year. I will say, in retrospect, I think The Last of Us might be the wrong choice there.
And what would have been?
Wow. What would you
Bioshock
pick?
Infinite?
For me personally, I'd say Infinite. I think with the benefit of like the intervening years, and not The Last of Us isn't great or important, but I'd say GTA 5.
I think that's fair.
I think it's unfair.
I mean, that online is still going today and
Yeah.
And it
fantastically
still
powerful.
sucks. No, I'm joking. It sucks more than it ever has now. I liked it a lot at first, but I do not like it now. So 2013, The Last of Us, we nailed it. Perfect Game of the Year pick.
nailed
as
it,
we always
everybody.
do. We never mess it up. 2014,
Yay!
Dragon Age Inquisition.
Another year.
Boy. Okay. Honestly, I really do not want to dig into this one again.
You know how I was frustrated about XCOM? Yeah, this year made me forget all about that year. Like,
Yeah.
it was so much more contentious this
Yeah.
year.
I wanted to run outside and smash down our building with my head. After that discussion, I was so angry.
Our
be a
our
fly on
staff
the
was
wall.
basically split exactly down the middle
Smarts and dumbs.
for Inquisition or Shadow of Mordor.
Yeah. The two
first
good
one.
games that came out that year.
People had played, in most cases, people had played both of them. So it wasn't like someone was saying, like, well, I haven't played this, but the one I like is better. It's like people were educated on both of them, and there was just no convincing. Everything that one side liked about one game, the other side disliked.
Yeah, it's one of those situations where you're never going to convince the other side
Yeah.
that, oh, I hate this game now.
Yeah.
But so it's like, well, we're just locked in a deadlock, but
I think this was a year that
we were just going to continue to argue about it for 2 hours, and we did.
Yeah, and I think this was a year that Andy, who I don't think this is a rare time where I think he just sort of exercised his executive power and is just like, I'm just making the call. We're gonna go with Dragon Age.
Yeah. I got that game because it was Game Informer's Game of the Year.
Really? What'd you think of it?
Apologies.
And
not
then you
care
never
for it.
read
Are you
Game
serious?
Informer again.
Hated it. What? Holding right trigger as the combat?
I think that was my thing.
That's your.
I like it. It's the most basic thing, and it was terrible.
So when you put XCOM versus Mass Effect 3, like, okay, I get it. Mass Effect 3 is a good game. But when you put Mordor against Dragon Age Inquisition, I was like, I do not like Dragon. Like, that's not even a game that I recognize as good. And
had
so it was
so
more
many
frustrating
problems.
to me.
Had
It was
so many
tough. It ran
problems.
really bad on my PS4.
Yeah.
Shadow of Mordor was genuinely not just like the best of the muck, you know? Shadow of Mordor really, really blew me away that year.
Yeah.
I thought that Nemesis system, as we all did, was going to be the biggest thing in the world.
You know what? Okay, so I guess maybe I am dredging
Let's do
this
it.
up a little bit, but like
get
to
into
me, so like that Nemesis system is great throughout the game. But like if you're going to do that, you need to stick the landing. It needs to pay off.
Like if you fight your 5 biggest nemesises at the end, which you did.
That'd be crazy, dude.
No, for what happened in my game, I don't. Maybe they patched it or something to because like what happened in my game is that it presented my big evil nemesis that supposedly had been building up for, and it was just like a guy I had killed an hour ago or
Daryl.
something. Yeah, it was like that. So the game is treating this like some big pivotal final fight when it was just like, who is this thing? I don't know what's going on.
I think
here.
that's a risk of, the risk of the procedural generation, because mine ended up being very climactic, but it's like you can't guarantee that.
Didn't Dragon Age Inquisition, you had like all this loot and your home base didn't have a chest you could put things in?
No, there's a chest.
Was there? They must have added that later.
I think they
did
patched that in later.
It was not there right at launch, but it was like in the first patch.
Okay. That's when I played it.
Yeah.
What
I
else was
remember-
that year? Oh,
I
sorry.
don't even care,
Oh,
dude.
no.
We're talking about Shadow of Mordor today.
I really do think it is between those two games. I think
was
those were the standouts.
Similar
Well,
to
yeah.
this last year, where people said, "Oh, it's kind of a weaker game." Like I remember that from this year, from the Mordor year. Like
Yeah.
people were like, "Well, if we'd had like a strong contender, it wouldn't be these two."
Yeah.
It'll be fun to talk about all these. But the last thing I want to say about Shadow of Mordor, I still remember my big nemesis. He was an old man, and he would yell at me from across the battlefield, "Young man!" And I killed him so many times that his whole head was wrapped in bandages.
Oh, that's amazing. Remember when
That's how Jeff
Kumail
Cork
Nanjiani
cursed
was
me.
in the sequel?
Sorry?
Kumail Nanjiani, he was in the sequel.
Yep.
That was so weird.
I didn't
Weird
even
how-
play that.
Weird how much I didn't like that sequel for how much I liked
No,
that first
no,
one.
I didn't care for it as much.
Destiny was that year, and in its first year, rough. Later on, maybe could have been Game of the Year contender, but I don't think people were crazy about it its first year, right?
Actually, I
were they
think-
around here?
Andy and Miller were.
Andy
for
and
sure,
Miller
yeah.
were both,
Okay.
even then, fighting for it.
Interesting. Alien Isolation?
That game is so good.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
I went back to that last year, the year before, and because I got so close to the end and didn't finish it for whatever reason, and it's still so good.
Yeah.
So good.
Bayonetta 2 was that year?
Wow, crazy to think it's that old now.
Yeah. The Call of Duty was Advanced Warfare. Assassin's Creed Unity, Joe, if you want to kiss and make up, we both love that game.
Well, now,
Yeah, exactly.
but like the year it came out, absolutely not. I played
Right.
it a year later when they had made it. They'd fixed it.
Yes. That
They-
game became very
so
fun.
What year is this?
We're in 2014.
Okay, so AC Unity would maybe be up for it in 2015.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Titanfall was 2014
There
I
it is. That's my
adored that
game of the
game.
That's
year.
the first
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
First one still.
First
one
one's
was good.
amazing.
Yeah.
Only power possible with the power of Xbox One is cloud.
The cloud.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, I've been going back to Titanfall 2. I'll wait until the year Titanfall 2 came out to discuss it.
It's so good.
Yeah.
Hey,
So good.
weird thing about AC Unity, on that same day, AC Rogue launched.
Yeah, that was strange.
They launched-
just split the generations.
They launched too. I'm pretty sure it was the exact same day. It was for sure the same month.
Because that
you know?
was like the
Last
previous gen version, and then Unity was the next gen one.
right. Yep.
Yeah, and I never finished Rogue actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is weird because Black Flag was cross generational. But then the following year, they had one that was only on.
Wait, really?
Yeah, Black Flag was on PS4 and on PS3. Or,
That's
you know,
weird.
Xbox One, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, anyway.
Watch Dogs, also 2014. I believe my review I did on my personal YouTube channel at the time, the consensus was you should steal it and not pay for it.
Oh,
That's
like
the
a
way you-
hacker.
Yeah. So I guess I stand by that.
Maybe Black Flag came to PS4 later. Maybe it didn't launch on both. Anyway, that's boring. Sorry.
Super Smash Bros. For Wii U was 2014.
Okay.
Game.
Far Cry 4.
Good game.
Far Cry 4 is
Hearthstone.
a really good game.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it is. Absolutely. That grapple hook was great. I have some great clips saved of grapple rappelling down into a cave, seeing somebody facing away from me, and just like building up momentum, swinging back and forth, and then leaping off and doing the vertical takedown on him.
Making elephants mad. That
You
was
have,
really fun.
Leo, you have a very good memory for specific moments in games.
A lot of times it's moments I like at the time and save a clip of, and I've seen a few times since then.
Oh, you'll go
okay,
back and rewatch.
okay.
Burn them in, yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, I like that.
That's good.
I do that, but with embarrassing moments, and I don't record it.
Yeah.
As much as
I
you
play it in
remember.
my brain.
Yeah.
I just can't stop myself from thinking about. Yeah.
Sunset Overdrive.
That's another great one.
I love that game.
Yeah.
That was worth the Xbox One for me. Worth having an Xbox One.
That may be the game of the Xbox One's lifespan.
Still?
Maybe? Yeah. 'Cause,
Yeah, I
like, what
wonder.
else?
Game of the Xbox One, really?
As far as
that is-
exclusive, you're talking exclusive,
Exclusive,
right?
yeah.
That is bold.
Well, what else is there?
I was going to say,
Gears 5, State of Decay 2,
Yeah.
Halo 4
Titanfall 1.
Titanfall 1 is,
or 5?
Yeah.
But that was on PC.
Yeah. Honestly, like I think it may be. That's a discussion for another time, but
Well, it's still one of like 4 games that only came out on the Xbox
Yeah.
console. And even now, it is out on PC now, Sunset Overdrive. So I think it is worth visiting. Not revisiting, but visiting for a lot of people, I'm sure. Yeah, it's
because
on Steam.
that sowed the seeds for Spider-Man in the movement, I would say. Like
Yeah, a lot of similar feelings traversing that city.
Yeah.
Did you just say this, Leo? It's on Game Pass.
Oh, I don't know if it's on Game Pass.
I think it is.
I believe so. 'cause
Yeah, I would think it would be.
It's a Microsoft game.
Yeah, great. Play
So
it there.
don't pass. Game.
Gameplay. Diablo 3 Reaper of Souls was 2014.
Oh, yeah.
I played a lot of
That one's great.
yeah. turned
That
it
was
around.
like 2 games, though, really. Like, before it came to console and before the big... Oh, you said Reaper of Souls?
Reaper of
Yeah,
Souls.
yeah,
I would
yeah.
like to
Yeah.
apologize for wasting everyone's time there.
Was anybody into it before Reaper of Souls? I know half the people in this office were obsessed with it.
I played it at launch on
After.
PC, and it was a big problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, I played it on PC when it first launched,
Yeah.
and I liked it okay. But then with Reaper of Souls was like, oh, now I really like it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't play it until it came out on PS4.
Yeah.
2014. You know what I'm about to say. 3, 2, 1. Drive Club.
Hey, who can forget?
I should have seen that coming.
Is that around still? Drive Club? Who's putting that up?
I think the university disbanded it after the incident.
Right. Reenacting that scene from Drive with the hammer.
Yep.
Halo the Master Chief Collection was 2014.
Yeah.
They just added Halo Reach to it.
Another moment that Joe talked about with Unity. That game was a wild
Yeah, I
disappointment when it
forgot.
first came out.
I forgot how bad that was at first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it. Like we would go back and play Halo 3 on 360 instead of playing it. Like
Yeah. Because you just couldn't find matches, right? You just couldn't play it online.
and not only that, like the I don't know if it was the emulation or how they did it, but like Halo 3 literally didn't feel the same as like the core game. It was bizarre. That was one of my biggest disappointments
Yeah.
for a while. I've lived a very good life.
It's been short, but good.
but short. Yeah.
That was the first time I learned what sad was.
Mom, I'm sorry to have awoken you, but I've got some complaining about my video game.
Can I sleep with you tonight? Wolfenstein: The New Order was 2014. Also.
That was the first one?
Yeah.
That's a good
First
one.
one of the new lineage.
Yeah, that's not
From
the first
Machine Games,
Wolfenstein.
is that their name?
Yeah, I think
I
so.
don't know. I don't know anyone who likes that game.
Really?
No.
Well, not anymore.
Not anymore.
I thought it was solid, right? No.
I still know them if they don't work
No,
here,
after
man.
the deaths. You don't know them.
Ooh. Alex, you like Wolfenstein, huh?
Yeah. I think if I'm remembering the right one, Joe's got me questioning it now, but
Yeah, the first of the new trilogy.
yeah, then yes, I liked that game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's about Dark Souls 2 is 2014, but I mean, not the best
a great year. Yeah.
Enough memorable games, but like every year I feel like so far there's been more than I expected.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
out of what we looked at, 2014 definitely pretty rough.
2014 is probably the weakest
I think
year in the
most of
decade.
us were going to put our notices in after that year. We're like, all right, you got 1 month, 2015.
Come on,
See
gaming.
what you got.
Make
Hurry
it
up.
good.
I'm not right about movies.
And then
now.
2015 happened, and we were all like, yay!
2015, The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt.
Yes.
Performers Game of the Year.
Yes, sir.
I'll stand by that one.
I imagine. I mean, y'all love it?
Yes.
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 That was because the other option was
Metal Gear Solid 5: The Phantom Pain.
Bloodborne.
Oh,
Bloodborne was the big talker.
Yeah.
interesting. It was between Witcher and Bloodborne.
Yeah.
Yep.
I can't imagine who in this office would have fought for Bloodborne.
Miller,
Miller was actually fighting for it.
Tack probably.
Tack definitely was.
That's who I was thinking.
Andy,
Timmy.
Tim.
I don't remember where I was in this fight at all.
Yeah, you were at home.
Yeah.
But MGS5 Phantom Pain was that year. Certainly would have been my game of the year.
That
That
game
was
really
for a
fun.
brief period.
Yeah.
We were like, "What if it was Metal Gear?" And then everybody was like, "But it ends stupidly." And I'm like,
Mass Effect 3.
Yeah. I think
exactly.
I mean, as the person who reviewed Metal Gear, I think I was not fighting for that one in that discussion.
I think that's a powerful opinion to have in our top 50s is like, what does the reviewer think of it? I think that definitely sways it a lot.
That open world was so much fun, though.
Yeah.
It was amazing. I took a couple days off, but then through a lucky series of events, I had 6 days off of work, and it was it was when I woke up till when I went to bed playing through Metal Gear Solid
So much
5.
fun. And just that loop of gritting people on your, like, recruiting them.
Yes.
It's the best playing Metal Gear.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
down.
It's-
One of the best playing games of all time, as far as I'm concerned.
If-
So reactive, responsive controls, especially on a controller, without it being super aim assisty, you still were hitting shots and everything.
And I recommend playing it offline so you don't have to deal with that FOB nonsense.
Yes, yes, lots of surrounding aspects that were not so good, but that core loop and like never killing anybody. I would recruit every single
Yeah,
person in
for
that.
sure.
And there were so many different fun non-lethal options
Yeah.
too, like the air shotgun, that stun shotgun.
Yep.
God, it was great.
Well, and the things you could bring into the battlefield on that game too, like I love those like robots that you could just cruise around on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The weird like arms you could shoot.
I forgot about those.
Um,
It was so fun to attach the balloons to people and just watch them like lift off.
oh yeah, the Fulton in that
Yep.
game. Like the Fulton was great in the portable ops ones too, but like yeah.
And then when you got the wormhole version of the Fulton,
Yes.
I forgot about that.
yeah, and then you could do it stealthy, like no one
Yeah.
would notice. People would just vaporize immediately.
But also, this is, I think, a great example of like what I love about the Metal Gear games in general is that, you know, let's say a game takes a certain amount of time to play from point A to point B. The Metal Gear games maybe are a little shorter than most on that front, but they're so much deeper. Like
Yeah.
there's so much more you can do within that space.
yeah,
And I might have said this before, but I think, to me, my favorite thing about that series in general is the anticipation of the designers, the way they're like, what if we let players do this, right? It's like, as they're making the game, they're like, I bet a player in this situation would say, what would happen if I did this?
Or if they
Let's
did this-
acknowledge that.
yeah. Or if they did this to this telephone pole, they would expect it to fall over. Like
Right.
they
Yeah.
would expect this to happen, so we need to make it work.
But this cassette of toilet sounds, if I play that while I'm in the bathroom, the guy will just run away.
Yeah.
oh, I don't wanna be
exactly
here.
that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Or you can
Exactly.
play that on your helicopter as you're coming in.
Or even like that part in Metal Gear Solid 2, right? When the guy's like whizzing over the railing and you're riding and you're like tons of people probably did it, but first you just stand in the whiz and you're like, haha, that's hilarious. And then you're like, I wonder what'll happen if I call the colonel while I'm being peed on. And his response is like, oh, Raiden, I'm sorry. You know, like the game responds to the weird things you try.
And I think of the things that you want to do in the game.
Yeah.
Get whiz done.
Yeah,
Apparently.
and Phantom Pain is following that tradition, I think, even more so than previous ones in terms of just like anticipating fun things that players might want to
So
try.
good.
I will say also a lot of the FOB stuff and the way they monetized it, very frustrating, very not fun. But the actual invasions, at least at launch, when they were pretty simple, like there's one person in my base and I need to find them and 1v1 fight them.
Yeah.
I thought that
That
made
was
for some
fun.
really fun moments.
Yeah.
Well, and that's essentially how I experienced it when I reviewed it. Was like at the sort of launch version of that, and it wasn't until the intervening early, like a few weeks after release, that you really start to see how that system gets its tendrils in there in a sort of insidious way. That's a little disappointing.
Sure.
It's funny we've talked about this game more than we did our game of the year, but
Yeah, I mean, do you have anything you want to say about The Witcher 3? It's probably talked about more.
The game's
I-
fun.
still think it's fun. Like, it definitely gets enough credit for this, but it deserves it just the way it handles storytelling. And that even like small side quests and even like small tasks all had story wrapped around them, like meaningful story. So I enjoyed doing all the side content in a way that sometimes feels like busy work in other games.
Yeah.
Yeah, it feels perfunctory in a game when they're like, well, players want a side quest. Hey, you, go kill 10 wolves for me. And you're like, oh, okay, I'll go do it. Whereas in this one, it's like someone crafted a quest about like, hey, there's a wolf who's in the woods. Please go hunt him. And then you do, but then you find someone's eaten the wolf. And, it's just like,
going from
there.
there.
Yeah, like there's actually a progression.
And it's also
Yeah.
like the overall presentation of dialogue. It seems like it was designed by people who had seen a movie. So it wasn't just like, hey, there's a wolf that's got a guy. Blink, blink, blink. Okay. It seems like it was more dynamic and interesting. So it was like, it is very cutscene and story focused, which may turn some people off. But I mean, it was presented in a really engaging
They'd
way.
either seen a movie or talked to another person in real life. One of
Yes.
the two.
Yeah, exactly.
Another thing that with distance, it's maybe less easy to remember is the fact that like The Witcher 3 is a great example of a game that was that received continuous and helpful updates throughout its life.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Like and free things that bordered on a level of like players maybe would expect to pay for some of this, but they didn't have to. It's here's just a bunch of new stuff for your game that quality of life things, content things, and CD Projekt's always been very consumer friendly in that regard.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, they overhauled the UI in some ways by here we'll make a special tab just for books and things that you read, right, which I don't believe was there at launch.
Right.
And some of the like alchemy ingredients, they like changed the way those are sorted and didn't take up encumbrance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very, very awesome.
I feel like that game hit at the right time for it to be a smash hit for them. I think at that time, what I remember of it was pretty early in the PS4 generation still, and people were looking for that kind of open world RPG type of game. And it's like so many people I knew who had no history with the Witcher franchise were getting into it there.
Still reeling from being burned by Dragon Age Inquisition.
Weren't we all? 2015 was the recovery year. Fallout 4 2015.
I bounced off.
That was like one where I thought early on, going into that year, that's going to be game of the year.
Yeah.
And then I played it, and it just didn't click for me. Ended up kind of disappointed. Just felt like more Fallout, but not in an exciting way.
Yeah, talking about bugs that ruin experiences, like Fallout 4 is way worse than Skyrim.
I think at
in
that point,
regard. It
the
was like,
seams really started to show too on Bethesda's.
yeah, I was having to reload
Scheme.
saves a lot.
Yeah.
A scheme. Yeah.
Well, I had friends who it broke their save and they just couldn't go back again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, those problems. I mean, you forgive enough of them, they get carried away. They think they can get away with anything. We need to stop these developers at all costs. Batman Arkham Knight was 2015.
I love that game too.
That was a great game.
Yeah.
Splatoon, the original Splatoon. Here's something that surprised me: Undertale, 5 years ago already.
Wow. Really?
Yeah,
That's crazy.
yeah. Star Wars Battlefront, though.
I like the first Battlefront.
Oh, did you?
I did.
Expand on that.
I was hungry for that kind of experience. We hadn't had it in 10 years at that point. Battlefront 2 was
Yeah, I think you're
something
right.
like that. So I was still very much, I still love the Star Wars universe. And yeah, I was here for it.
It did. The graphics for the time were pretty unbelievable. It looked like photorealistic Star Wars.
Yeah.
Honestly, it was pretty impressive.
And was that the same year that Force Awakens came out?
Must have been. Yeah.
2015? So I was like, I think everybody was like Star Wars crazy at that
Oh
point.
yeah, because it's every other year they were doing the main one. So it would have
Yeah.
been 2015, 17, and 19.
Yeah.
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 Back when we were all hyped about Star Wars. You remember those days?
God,
Good
now we
old
have to hate it.
days. Yeah.
I've
Too
been
bad
told
Star
they
Wars
did.
is dead.
Why are they doing this to us?
Yeah. Super Mario Maker was 2015. Her Story. Rocket League. I'm not skipping any here. These were all really
Rocket League is
seminal
good,
games.
yeah.
Rocket League, amazing.
Yeah.
Rise of the Tomb Raider, I loved.
I love that game.
Yep. I love it too.
I love it more.
I love it.
No.
It had a side mode that was survival, and it was procedural generation, and it had procedurally generated tombs, and you were exploring the cold, and you were having to forage for food and for warmth. And you could play it in co-op, and you could use these cards to do fun things. Like, you'd shoot chickens out of your bow
What?
instead of regular arrows,
Really?
or you could have big head mode for the enemies you'd encounter.
It sounds like a
I
Lego
never-
game.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
Is
And
this
I was so
real?
disappointed it wasn't in Shadow of the Tomb Raider. But those cards, you were unlocking them, and they were some of them were consumable, some of them were rarer and permanent.
Sounds amazing.
It was really great.
Sorry guys, I think Leo loves it the most.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't
All right.
like it.
Yeah, I really hate
You don't
it.
think it's interesting.
You don't appreciate it on the level that I do.
Halo 5 was 2015, the last Halo
Just
we'll
gloss
ever
right,
see.
gloss right over that
wild.
one.
Until Dawn. Wow, that also feels like it should be more recent.
Yeah, that was 5 years ago, huh?
Yeah, Destiny the Taken King was 2015. See, because that feels a million times older than Until Dawn. Whatever, this is a pointless conversation now.
How old are we? Let's.
But how old do these games feel? Guitar Hero Live 2015. I thought about playing that a lot of times. Assassin's Creed Syndicate.
I like that one a
the
lot.
last of
That's
that
the best
era?
one.
Best
a really
Assassin's
great
Creed period.
I think so. Yeah.
Of all Assassin's Creed.
I think Jeff Cork's with me on that one, right?
I think it is. Yeah, it's kind of like the pinnacle of that classic Assassin's Creed design, which I love. But I love
Yeah.
the new direction they've taken. To
Yeah,
it.
like I was just playing some Odyssey recently again. Actually, like
Yeah.
I really like where they're going with it. But
Yep.
if you're talking about the classic AC
Yep,
formula, Syndicate's the best.
Syndicate for sure.
Same director as Odyssey, though, right? What was his role? Game director Scott.
Oh yeah,
Oh, yeah.
Phillips.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Scott Phillips. Also from Saints Row the Third.
Right.
Really?
Yeah. That guy's
Yeah.
Oh,
Wow.
crazy.
that
Yeah,
guy's pretty
That's
good.
cool.
That's good.
Yeah.
Dying Light was 2015. Evolve was 2015. I know we all play it every day, but that started in 2015.
Yeah.
We often forget that. Evolve
Crazy.
Beginning of a
Evolve-
legend right there.
Yeah, Evolve ahead of release, not being in the business. It felt like only games industry people are excited about Evolve.
Oh, really?
That's how it felt from the outside. Yeah, because I guess when you play it and get your hands on it at preview events, I bet it previews really well.
Yeah, it totally did. So yeah, that's interesting. It probably was the case then because when it came out, nobody seemed to care.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it wasn't terrible, but I played it a lot at the time actually. Once it got down to like $20.
Well, they did like 8 betas or something like that. I remember it they kept doing a preview for it. I was like, okay, let's get the game.
And the controversy of it being like $200 to get every piece of DLC or whatever.
Yeah.
But the problem was every match kind of felt the same for me.
Yeah.
I mean, that is I think that of every game that I can think of off the top of my head, I think that is probably the widest gulf between, I guess, what I perceived as like the hype or potential for success and
Yeah.
actual performance of any game.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah,
Like,
I think
I mean-
even more so than like in an Anthem.
Yeah.
even 'Cause
Yeah.
there was so much hype
Yeah,
around Evolve.
well, because I think with Anthem, people approached it with a level of skepticism of like, whoa, this is going to be tough to pull off. I think
Yeah.
for Evolve, there are sort of things you can point to that are like, oh, yeah, this all makes sense. This game should be great. And like all of the people I knew in the industry who played it were like, oh, that game is good. It got our like E3 Game of the Year that year, I think.
yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
And for people who don't know, we should say it's like a 4v1 hunters versus monster type of game.
Yeah, one of those
They made-
asymmetrical multiplayer things. Yeah.
They made it free to play last year. Did anybody try it out again after they made that jump? I tried it for an hour.
Yeah,
It was very free.
One of the freest multiplayer games you can find.
Quite.
Yeah.
Mortal Kombat X 2015.
Okay.
Soma. Anybody have fond memories
Yeah.
of Soma? I think
I like
was
that game a
cool.
lot.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I like
also
the
some-
story of that game. It has cool. The narrative goes some places that I think are interesting.
More interesting than hiding under a desk while a bad guy walks around.
Yeah. Well, so they
There was a
actually
little bit of that though,
they ended up adding something to that game where it's like it basically takes out the aggression,
which I love that.
which that's very smart.
Yeah.
Yeah. Beginner's Guide, as we mentioned, 2015. I adored that game, by the way. Beginner's Guide, I think, is really great experience and
Yeah.
short and fun.
Yep.
The Order 1886. How does history remember that title?
Barely.
Holding an apple and looking at it from all angles.
That was another game where not quite like Evolve, but like there was some hype behind that game. I thought it was going to be great, and then just the execution.
He fought a werewolf.
It looked great. I bet it still looks good.
It
but
pissed me off at the time because it felt like cheating. Like, yeah, it looks really good because they're showing you a pencil, a 1-inch frame of the game at a time.
yeah, I guess they did have huge bars, didn't they?
Yeah, that was like, sure, any game could look this good if they just don't show you a third of it. Because all that power. Just Cause 3 was also 2015, which I was kind of unimpressed at the time because I love Just Cause 2 so much. But going back to it later,
It's
with
really
like
good.
my expectations set, really fun.
Yeah.
Really great feeling and beautiful. Such a colorful world. You know, I adore that. Battlefield Hardline, seminal piece of police fiction.
Another entry in the Battlefield series, inarguably. I
Easily.
remember watching Fava play that. I think I helped him I think he reviewed that.
Yeah, he did. I think he
wow.
liked it actually,
Really?
as I recall.
I hope not, for his sake, because I remember it being frustrating.
I mean, I bet it scored somewhere in the 8s.
yeah.
The multiplayer had some interesting modes about heists, cops and
Yeah.
robbers. That stuff seemed kind of compelling. Zip lines.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
Intra-
cops and
instant
robbers
buy.
in real life.
Everybody loves a zip line.
Everybody loves the zip
When
line.
am I going to get a
Zip lines
chance
are
to be
great.
on a zip line?
Yeah.
Play Death Stranding.
Play
True.
Fallen Order.
Oh, we'll
Play
get to it.
Fortnite.
Ori and the Blind Forest was 2015.
Oh, yeah, that's a great one.
Axiom Verge.
Oh,
We got some fans here.
that.
That was hard because it was like Ori, and then a couple months later, Axiom, I think. And it was like, man, these two great games that are kind of doing something similar but look wildly different.
What was the Game Informer game of the year this year? Are we still on the
So
Witcher?
we're
We're
3?
still in
Yeah.
Witcher year, yeah.
It's a
2015 was
good
big.
year.
Because I know Axiom Verge was my game of the year. The year it came out. So I think it probably beat Witcher 3 for me.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah, that's so strange. I feel like I don't hear people talk about that very much, but it's like
It's a great
beloved.
game.
I shout about it on Twitter whenever I can.
Okay.
That is, I mean,
So-
seriously, that is one of my favorite. The recent announcement of the sequel for that game is like some of the best news I've heard in a long time.
Mad Max 2015, I think, was underrated.
Yeah,
that game is a
that
fun ride.
Absolutely.
Invisible Ink was cool that year. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 5. I don't know what that is. we don't speak of that.
Doesn't exist.
Yeah. And let's move on to 2016, where the game of the year was Overwatch.
Great game.
That was another year where we're like, hey, everybody wants it to be Overwatch, right? And like the few of us who were like, I don't really like Overwatch, didn't have anything else that they could throw in to compete with.
Uncharted 4, maybe.
I that was my game of the year, and I really like it. But everybody was kind of like, well, it's more Uncharted. It's great Uncharted, but let's give it to something new,
yeah.
which I see the argument for.
Yeah, well, and like, it's also hard to overstate the degree to which, well, even today, but back then at the time too, that everyone on staff was
Yeah, playing it.
like, I felt like I was the only person who did not play Overwatch in the
Yeah.
office.
I play it so little now, I forget how into it I was when it came out. Like, from the beta, it was like, let's get the friends together and play this every night.
I was unemployed when that came out, and I just got done with school. And that
Got
was
fired
literally-
from school.
Yeah, got fired from school. Yeah, I graduated, and that was my entire summer. Like,
Yeah.
an unhealthy amount of Overwatch.
That's a good, cheap game. I mean, the monetization is very not oppressive. At times, it was more than it is now, but still, at no point was it like, I feel robbed because I'm not putting more money into this.
Yeah, I don't think I sank a dime into the loot boxes.
I probably spent $300 for the course of my life. Inside was 2016.
Another
yeah,
great one.
that was a great game.
Yeah.
Doom, the original Doom, the first Doom.
The first Doom ever made.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know?
Dishonored 2, 2016. That's a game.
that was a great
That's
game.
another game that's waiting for me to fall in love with it, and I haven't yet.
Oh yeah, you should play it.
I should. Firewatch. How do we feel looking back? That was kind of divisive.
I still the journey of that game is phenomenal.
I thought it was worthwhile. There's
Yeah.
some complaints about the ending, but I still think it was a
People
it was a good,
complain about the ending, but it kind of worked for me.
I liked it.
I liked
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
great game. Final Fantasy 15.
Oh, that was mine. That was my game of the year that year.
Gotta be.
Yep.
Yeah, I did not want to do the story in that game at all. I just wanted to cruise around with the boys, do the side missions, and that was excellent.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of those games that I have easily 100 hours logged in, just like
Yeah.
doing all of the side content because I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm a sucker for sleeping and cooking in games. And that game, it did both of those really well. Yeah.
It's the kind of thing where, like, pre-release, when they talk about, like, hey, we really want this game to have a road trip vibe, and you're like, yeah, okay, you throw a bunch of guys in a car, let's
Go
see.
on a road trip.
Yeah, well, it seems like, how are you going to convey that? That seems like a weird, like, a difficult goal that I don't know if it's going to, like, cross the intent barrier to actually, like, you know, be conveyed effectively, and it totally was for me. Like,
Yeah.
I loved that game.
Although Leo, weren't you just making fun of Dragon Age for the combat? You're just holding down a button.
Oh,
Like that's
yeah.
like the same thing in Final Fantasy.
Yeah, I suppose. I guess I don't love. Final Fantasy 15 had a lot cool about it though, and Dragon Age Inquisition across the board was.
Hey, I agree. It's a better game.
Yeah, I wasn't crazy about the combat in 15 for sure.
Look, when someone agrees with you, don't push their argument to the limits.
Oh wait, don't make fun of people you like. Or-
But I did like the warp dash in 15.
It was very
Yeah?
good.
yeah, it was good.
And that's another game that had a lot of really important updates, free updates
Right.
over time.
Yeah.
Like improving Well, there were things like you can basically turn your car into a monster truck and and off-road.
Oh man.
Yeah, you can like get, because like one of the complaints about it when it came out was you can't really like drive and explore the world. You need to stay sort of confined to the road.
Right.
Yeah.
But you can get a modification for your car that lets you just drive around in the world.
That's a strange complaint. Because in my car, I'm never going like, I'd like to be on that field.
I want to plug our month of coverage for that game too. Our video coverage, we show a lot of behind the scenes tools, like them moving around in the editor and stuff, and we don't get to show that all the time, and I think it's interesting.
Yeah, that was a rare case where most of the time when we go see a game for a cover story, we get usually 2 days. Rare cases is just 1 day, and for this one, I think we had 5 days there at the studio. So it was.
That's awesome.
And it wasn't
You also
all,
had like a month to write it. You came home and you had like a lot of time to write.
I had more time than usual to write that one too. That's also the biggest cover story I've ever written. I think that was like 22 pages.
Wow.
Yeah, there was a
novella.
lot. And the time that we spent at Square Enix also wasn't all just FF15. Like it fed into a lot of that online coverage about the series in general and stuff like that too.
Sure. 2016 though, there's one game of the year and it was Titanfall 2. Titanfall 2, 2016. Again, I went back to that recently.
That game is so good.
I've been playing it nightly again.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. You can still find a game on PC, and you just go into it, and you're like, why did we play any other games?
We were talking about this.
Why did we check in on the next Call of Duty? The shooters are topped out at Titanfall 2 to this day.
That wasn't our game of the year, though. What did we give it?
Oh, Overwatch.
Oh, that was the same year?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Titanfall 2, that was the year Titanfall 2 and Battlefield 1 came out within like a week of each other. And man, that bummed me out. But Titanfall 2, God.
It's still so good.
Man,
not even mentioning the campaign.
Is great.
I don't know why Titanfall 2 didn't come up then is like in competition with Overwatch. I don't know if it would have won necessarily. I think I would have voted for it, but
It's interesting going to Apex Legends this year, which is also a great game. And I loved it, and it's, a few years devoid of Titanfall 2, but now going back to Titanfall 2, it's like, Apex feels about 15% as good as Titanfall 2 does.
Really?
And it's still really good because that's how good Titanfall 2 is.
Wow.
I adore it.
Just moving around in Titanfall 2 is an absolute joy.
All the
And-
execution animations are
Yeah.
really satisfying. I've been like trying to unlock all the different ones. I got
Yeah.
one where you run up someone's back and stab them in the top of the head with a
Yup.
knife.
And if you could steer him around by twisting the knife, that would be the best. But
They're your Titan now.
There's for Titanfall 3, maybe do that.
Right.
Yeah. We can only hope. I want that game so bad.
Oh, God.
Just give me more.
In a just universe, Titanfall 2 is the biggest thing in the world still. The Witness.
I love that one.
Yeah, it's a great game.
That's probably, that's up there on my list of just best puzzle games ever. I really like The Witness.
Yeah. Cool vibe.
It's like, does something that's so hard for puzzle games to do, which is not iterate on the same puzzle again and again and again, right? Where it's like, hey, you did this once, here's a slightly more complicated version, but you have to do it, now you do. Basically give you the same puzzle 3 times with slight escalations. And The Witness is like content to give you a puzzle once and you solve it. And it's like, oh, you did it. Here's a different idea. Here's a different puzzle for that. You don't have to always, beat something into the ground with it.
And so many puzzles in that game.
A lot.
Really impressive scale.
Yeah.
No Man's Sky was 2016.
wow. Yeah, that's a game that's grown a lot over the years.
Yeah.
Like at launch, that first year was pretty rough.
Yeah, not exactly a contender at that time.
It barely made our top 50, if I
Yeah.
remember correctly.
Yeah.
Pokemon Go was also 2016.
Wow.
Yeah.
That was a moment.
That was a moment.
That
We
was
all remember where
crazy,
we
yeah.
were. I remember meeting my neighbors for the first time. The 1 week I played
While
Pokemon
you were playing
Go.
Pokemon Go?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
It was like, we're all at the gym. It's like, oh yeah, I'm Leo, by the way, I live over there. Never had that before or since.
Never seen them again. I remember me and Hanson were on a cover trip for one of the Destiny covers. And we're like in Seattle the day it launched. And then we're like, we should go outside and like just see what's going on. And like going to a park and there were just like literally hundreds of people at this park.
Yes.
Running back and forth and somebody would yell Squirtle on another side of the park. We're like, we got to go get it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It
Yeah.
was so much fun.
Mob mentality.
It was
yeah.
a crazy time to be just sitting on by the sidewalk with my friends, and people would walk by on their phones, and you're 100% sure they're playing
Yep.
Pokemon
Yeah.
Go.
You knew what they were doing.
Everybody in the world was playing
Yeah.
that for a week, and it was
That was a cool moment.
it was
Yeah.
yeah.
So
Truly
game of
fun
the year?
memories of that. Easily game of the year. The Division was 2016.
Another good game that was better over the course of its lifespan.
Yeah. Yeah, I was really not impressed in the beta, but then I grew to love it a lot, the original one and
Yeah.
2. Hitman 2016.
Did you fall in love with it right when it came out?
I did. I bought each episode as it came out. People complained about the episodic nature, but I enjoyed it. Even though I didn't pull the trigger early enough on just getting the complete package, so I bought each episode individually. It ended up costing me like $100.
So I'm learning a theme is Leo's not good with money.
Yeah, a lot of debt. Abzu? Do we remember that?
Yeah.
Remember it, didn't play it.
Yeah, it was all right.
Underwater game.
It was an
Swimming
underwater
around.
journey in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Stardew Valley was 2016.
Oh yeah, that game
That's
was
a
great.
contender.
That game, I still don't think I've been as addicted to a game as I have since Stardew Valley. Like there were days where I was like, I can't take it anymore. I have to leave work somehow and go play this game. I have to ditch out on things I need to do to go play that game.
Yeah.
Because it had hooks in me so good.
Who'd you marry?
Gosh, who can I?
Abigail?
It was the lady, the artist lady who made statues. What was her name?
Lee.
Leah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Leah.
Yeah. That game is really cool. I'm glad it's got co-op now. That came a few years later.
Yeah. I think I've put, like, I believe Stardew Valley would rank in the top 5 of games I have put the most hours into.
Yeah.
I think I have 300 in that probably, at least, across platforms.
Nice. XCOM 2 was 2016.
Another great game.
It was a lot like a State of Decay 2 or a Middle-earth Shadow of Mordor in that, or in Shadow of War, in that it's so similar to the first one, and yet I didn't get into it at all.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, I still loved it. I think I still had Uncharted above it, but like it was my number 2. I really I think I do think that the first XCOM did more for the series and was maybe an overall better polished package, but the second one added things that I really like.
Yeah. Super Hot 2016 also.
Hey,
Game's cool.
can we go back for a second and just talk about how great Uncharted 4 was?
Oh, yeah. Sure.
Yeah.
Because that was
We
one...
did kind of blaze past that.
I mean, because I think, didn't we do a whole game club on that here in the
Yeah.
office also? And like, what a fantastic and appropriate ending for that series.
It really is an amazing game.
I just went back because I love the series just this year, beginning of the year, like back in February. Went back and replayed all 4 of them.
Yeah.
And it's kind of fun to see them all back to back. And like one's pretty rough at this point, but after that, you're golden. All the other ones are great. And I think 4 is a great end cap. Probably the best of the series.
Yep.
I know people really like 2, but 4 like has everything the other games do. It looks better and it has a more heartfelt story.
It doesn't seem like it falls apart near the back end like most of the other
Right.
entries do also, where they introduce like, here's some weird supernatural nonsense.
yeah.
Or is it?
And there's also something about it where I think there's a tendency to go dark and gritty or surprising in things like that. And especially, I mean, even in the kinds of movies that Uncharted sort of mimics, their character death is a thing that happens. And I remember just being a little terrified as I was playing through that like, oh God, they're gonna kill Elena, they're gonna kill Drake, they're gonna do something. And I love that this is just a game. It has a happy ending.
Yeah.
Like it's this series that there's danger in it, but ultimately it ends well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I appreciate that. The way I pretend to have an interesting personality is that I will talk about the multiplayer of games nobody played the multiplayer of. So
yes.
multiplayer in Uncharted 4 is pretty good.
Oh,
Pretty
Did
fun.
you play
the whip
single
was
player?
good. I did. I didn't finish single player.
interesting.
Yeah.
What?
But multiplayer of like Uncharted 2, 3, and 4 were all really fun.
Uncharted Lost Legacy was just the Uncharted 4 multiplayer, right?
Yes.
Like
It was like a different way into the same multiplayer.
like literally, it's not like they even released it as a second product. It's like it's the same. You're playing the same game,
Yes.
with the same people.
I think that's right.
You just sort of got there by putting in a different disc.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, because 4 introduced down but not out for people, which I always appreciate in multiplayer games. Fun mechanic, but I digress. Crysis 2, also great multiplayer. I digress. Mafia 3 was 2016. Anybody feel
I like
strongly
that
about
game.
that? Yeah.
I remember trying to fight for that on our top 50, and I don't think it made it because I recognize it has some repetitive problems, like the mission structure, the mission design is very repetitive. But I thought it had enough going for it that pushed it over the edge for me to like really stand out. And I think the story was pretty interesting. The characters were really interesting and cool.
Yeah, how much I liked that main character made everything I did a bit more fun.
Yeah.
Like, that made it work for
That
me.
world was really cool to be in.
Yeah, yeah. Darkest Dungeon was 2016. I really fell in love with that game for sure.
Oh, gosh, that was that year?
That's a great game for Switch. It's on Switch now. That's where I recommend you play it if you haven't played it. Love it. Yeah, pretty much all we got that year. But 2016, we gave it
is
to
that it?
Overwatch.
Yeah.
Dark Souls 3, also 2016. But Overwatch seems like a good pick to me.
Yeah, I'm with that one.
I obviously win Hitman, but
I would say-
sure made sense for the group.
Final Fantasy 15 is the choice.
Yeah. Anybody else have any grievances?
I mean, wasn't at all into Overwatch, so I went with Uncharted.
Well, 2017. This
Here we
was
go.
this was a fun discussion.
Oh no!
Were you
I
here
was
for
there.
that?
Yeah.
Okay.
This is the first year I was here for. We gave Game of the Year to Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild.
The correct choice.
Yeah.
The correct choice. And looking back, yeah, remarkably correct. I can't believe we were that correct.
I can't believe how we ever considered giving it to anything else.
Yeah. What else was there? There was Horizon Zero Dawn would have been up for it for sure.
Yep. Another good game.
Yeah. Super Mario Odyssey. Yeah, but Breath of the Wild was certainly a big discussion.
Mr. Jubba's face says otherwise here. I'm curious.
I'm just waiting for it to come out, but
Oh, this is just another one that's you don't want to dredge up the whole thing. For me, it wasn't so much as there was another game that I was championing.
That's the problem.
As much as I really did not think Breath of the Wild was a good Game of the Year choice.
Yeah, in different company, it could have lost. I felt like just from the amount of people that felt like you did.
yeah.
But
There
I
were
think-
some people who were really against it. Which that was the argument. It almost wasn't like Breath of the Wild or this. It was like Breath of the Wild or not Breath of the Wild because there were so many people who were didn't really have another. Like they were championing Mario Odyssey, which is admittedly a good game, but it felt like they were championing that because they were like, I need another thing to support instead of Zelda, which because I don't like Zelda, it was the argument.
yeah,
Oh,
Which
wow.
I do.
This is not good.
I love Zelda. It was
Yeah.
my choice, and I think we made the right call.
yeah, me too. Horizon Zero Dawn though, 2017.
Great game.
Great game.
Yeah. Expand on that. I kind of
also
bounced
a
off
good
it.
game. Yeah, I liked it a fair amount.
Yeah, pretty.
The world building was really cool in that. I liked I
Yeah.
just liked the vibe of it.
It took
Very
a
interesting
long
world.
time for the combat to click with me. Where you had to scan dudes and you had to chip away at their armor to some
Yeah.
degree, and
Yeah.
then hit them in the weak points. And I think I liked it overall, but like, it didn't always 100% work for me. And the world was interesting to explore, but it just felt a bit like Far Cry,
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
running, doing all those missions.
I forgot how exciting that reveal was, though. The first time we saw that game, I was blown away. I really loved the look of those monsters and everything.
I'm really excited for a sequel because I think this is an instance where they have a great foundation. Just make it sing even more. Just put more energy into it, and they can really do something cool with that.
Horizon
franchise.
Zero Midday.
I really liked Horizon when it launched, but I'm finding myself now as I look back on it, I don't remember a lot about that game. It did not stick with me in a way that it is surprising me right now how little I can fight for this game if I had to.
Interesting.
Right?
Wow.
Partially because of the stuff that Ben said. Like I remember a lot of, all right, I'm wandering around, I'm completing little tasks for people. Like, yep, it's an open world game with a lot of tasks that you complete and sort of like you do a checklist of stuff.
Did you not like Aloy as a character?
I liked Aloy,
Yeah.
but what I remember is I remember the arc of answering the question of what's going on in this world, and I'm not going to spoil it here, but like that's what I remember about that game, and the gameplay itself is sort of an open world blur to me.
Yeah. I got nowhere near finishing it. Does the name Horizon Zero Dawn make sense?
It does when you get to it.
Okay.
They explain that means something. I'll say that.
Okay, cool. Yeah, at the time, that felt the clunkiest about it. Is why would they choose that?
I don't
name?
think they needed it. They could have just called it Horizon
Yeah, I think that
Definitely.
or Zero Dawn. Either one.
I mean, I think that there's a discussion about how subtitles like that make your game easier to find. Like if someone just Googles Horizon,
Yeah.
Yeah.
that's a word that's out there all over the place. But if you tack on Zero Dawn, then it's like, hey, we can return search results that are very specific for what you're looking
That'd
for.
be like calling your game Control.
That's tough.
I did search Control earlier. The game comes up first. Really impressive, because I feel the same way as you do. But
I think
they've-
it uses your personal search history into some
Oh,
way
you're
to
probably right.
Probably
influence
part
that.
of
Should have
it, yeah.
incognitoed
I
it.
bet if my mom searches for Control, that's not what she's
I
going
think it's Janet Jackson's album.
But if they had called it Control the Oldest House or something, like I don't think that would have been as good a name.
Certainly.
Would have been clunky.
I mean, I don't think Horizon is as good as, or Horizon Zero Dawn is as good as just Horizon.
Yeah, I agree with you.
I think that's a sacrifice people make all the time in game naming. But
You're right. Destiny 2 was 2017. That was really good when it came out. And then it became good again later.
it was better.
That's the art.
But I remember when that game launched, people were crazy about it. Like, for that, before they got to the end game, like the initial power grind of that game,
Yeah.
people loved.
Weirdly, I think Miller and Andy were a little bit down on it that year over previous years.
I had
think
other people like it.
They had like high expectations, I think.
Yeah. Do people want to say more about Super Mario Odyssey?
Oh, it was a great game.
Yeah, I remember.
I mean, that's the first 3D Mario I've played in, I don't know, for a long time.
Really? You didn't play the Galaxy games? What? Wow.
Galaxy's great. So is Odyssey.
Yeah, Odyssey's great. I love
Yeah.
the hat mechanic. You possess dudes and run around as
I don't
them.
think I made it through Odyssey. I think I stalled out at some point.
What was
But
your game of the year that year, you think?
That's a good question. I don't think we've come across
Nier?
it yet.
Nier Automata?
No.
Call of Duty World War II? PUBG? PUBG was
PUBG.
maybe my personal... No, it wasn't my personal game of the year, but I love that game a lot
Yeah.
at the time. Resident Evil 7. It's
That was a
2017.
good game.
Good game. Cuphead was 2017.
Ooh, Cork.
Great game.
Yeah, I like that game.
Yeah.
You reviewed that for us, right?
I did.
Yeah.
Got so mad.
I remember you coming into the office pretty furious a few times.
Yeah.
That game was weirdly magical, though, because it was so hard. Like, every time I played it, I'd quit in frustration and being like, I'm never playing this again. And then, like, the next day, I was like, I think I want to play Cuphead again. I think there's something about that game I want to go back to. And it kept drawing me back enough that I eventually finished it.
I had so many times where he was on, at the end where it shows you how close you got to the end. He was like stepping on the ending of beating the boss, and it wasn't there, and I just wanted to throw my TV out the window.
Yep.
Battlefront 2, obviously. That was a big talker that year.
I
Because-
actually don't think I've ever canceled a pre-order outside of Battlefront 2.
Interesting.
Once news got out of the pay-to-win mechanics in that, I was so bummed, but I was like, yeah, this is not. I can't do this. I'm not gonna play this.
Yeah. Game's still going. They're doing Rise of Skywalker stuff.
And I've
Still
heard
pushing
it's
it.
like drastically better now, to the point where I was like kind of considering picking
Well,
up
they can
Overbreak.
say that because no one's going to check. You can just claim
I
anything.
gotta dig it out, put it in my system.
Yeah. 2017, also the year of Fortnite. Remember before that game was a battle royale?
Yeah.
I remember doing coverage of that, the Save the World thing.
Well,
it looked
so
pretty okay.
I remember our discussion. We were talking a lot about PUBG and how people were going to follow PUBG, but I don't think Fortnite really blew up until the following year. The beginning of the following year is when it really soared, right?
Yeah, when they added the battle royale. I don't think.
Well,
that
I
was-
don't know when they added the Battle Royale.
Yeah, but it was immediately when they added it that it blew up. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there was a time where PUBG was the big dog.
It was a
And-
big dog.
Yeah.
Woof, woof.
Yeah, that was the
Wolf,
thing. It was like,
yeah.
oh, PUBG, it's beating out Dota. Like that was the comparison.
Yeah.
Yeah, and at the time, honestly, it was like, yeah, anybody could beat this if they raced to rip it off because it is such a clunky,
Yeah.
like scrapped together thing.
And that was
really
definitely
ugly.
the feeling. That was the feeling when Fortnite came out with, with their Battle Royale mode was like, wow, this is just a blatant ripoff.
Right, but more polished.
Yeah.
And free to play.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And building is
That's-
pretty cool.
That's
Yeah.
huge. And yeah, honestly, building.
Yeah.
Honestly. Injustice 2, I loved that year.
Oh yeah, I went back and played that after that year and did like it a lot.
Well, that's fantastic.
Surprise!
What Remains of Edith Finch was this year?
Yep, great game.
Oh, that
Great
might have
game.
been my game of the year that year.
Yeah.
God, that was good. Night in the Woods, I loved.
That's a great one.
Good
Good narrative
representation of being in a band. I don't see that attempted much in games, and I love the way it was.
Yeah, being in a crappy band specifically.
Exactly,
It's just
yeah.
like the band you're in high school. Or it's
Are
like
we
you
going to
just wanna
practice or what?
just
Yeah.
jam on some things?
We
Yeah.
should probably practice. Wolfenstein 2, The New Colossus, was 2017. This is a strong year. Sonic Mania. Gravity Rush 2. Anybody like that besides me?
I never played it.
I think Suriel really
Unfamiliar.
did.
Yeah, true. Yeah, that I adore the way that game feels. Like, the missions do get boring, but I love the way it feels to fall. Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon Wildlands, 2017.
I like that game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you like it at launch? Is that a game that got better, or was it good forever?
Well, they had the beta. I downloaded that because I like the other Ghost Recon games, and that beta was awful. The cars controlled like ass,
Yeah.
and it was janky and no fun. And then the game came out, and I think I got it shortly after launch, and it was like, oh, this is like radically improved over what they kind of put out there into the world as a you should buy this. So maybe that didn't work. But then they just kept I feel like this is just the prevailing theme over the past 10 years is they kept adding more and more and more to it. Like cool free stuff, like that Predator event was super rad if you're into the Predator. Which I am.
They had the Splinter Cell event too, where they
Yeah.
had Sam Fisher in it.
Yeah,
Oh.
that.
Did not
Oh.
like that. They got me to join for that one. The stealth was not working for me there.
yeah.
Ooh, that was
What I didn't
frustrating.
like about it is they got my hopes up that they were going to announce a Splinter
Yep.
Cell game.
Yeah.
Then
Yeah.
they haven't.
And then
Yeah.
just nothing came. Wasn't that where he like Sam Fisher had like the weird line where he's like, "I'm the last one left," where
Yeah.
he's referring to like Snake.
That bandana guy's gone.
Yeah.
Or he
It's
said
only
something
me
like-
now. Bye forever.
He said something like,
See you in the mobile game space.
did he say I kept you waiting or something like that?
Oh,
Which
did
is
he?
like a snake line? He might be
Yeah.
right.
He said kept you snaking. It didn't even make sense.
So do you think we'll look back in like 2 years at Breakpoint and be like, man, this game's great?
Oh, I hope so. I hope every game is good, but boy,
They got a long way to
that
go.
one, yeah. Oy. What do you think about that one, Cork? As a fan of the first one,
What
you find
I
anything
played
love in
of
it?
what I played of it, I did not like.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Mass Effect Andromeda 2017.
Here comes some apologies.
Nope.
Oh, I don't know. I'm just trying to create a drama there.
No. I mean,
Play it up, buddy.
I enjoyed Andromeda than most people for sure, but I think I gave it an 8. That's a game that has some problems.
Yeah. Have they done
is-
anything with that post-launch, like in the intervening years? Is it now a good
I
thing?
really think they abandoned it.
I don't think.
Pretty much kind of like what happened with Anthem.
Yeah.
I think that any plans that they had to add to it or create additional content for it got sidelined by just fixing the base release of it. Okay.
Yeah.
They were like, we'll get you next time, guys.
And then we're gonna shelve the series.
Yeah.
Yeah. That
Breath-
makes me sad.
Breath of the Wild for 2017. Good choice.
Yeah.
Yeah,
think
I stand by it.
I mean, in retrospect, the lack of a good other contender really does make that a
Yeah.
good choice. but-
Although, honestly, like,
still-
Breath of the Wild might be my game of the decade. Like, I think it's like that strong to compete against the other years too.
It's an all-timer.
And like I think there's a lot of people who would argue that 2017 was a really strong year with stuff like Horizon and
Right.
Super
And
Mario,
Mario.
Odyssey. Yeah.
Yeah, but when it comes to just the best of the best.
Yeah.
yeah, that was not a great year for my particular taste.
Yeah,
There you
for
go.
sure.
Sure.
But I think for the industry at large, there's lots of great stuff there.
2018. We'll remember all these games so clearly. God of War was our game of the year.
Boy.
It's a good one.
Sure.
That's good.
I
It's very
believe
good.
you.
I like God of War. That was good. What else was out that year, though? It seems like there would have been a
It
discussion.
was the only one that we could possibly
Spider-Man?
give it to.
Spider-Man was the other talking point. Everybody loves Spider-Man.
I've tried to get into that one, and just for whatever reason,
Really?
it's like one of the only games that both of my kids have beaten independently, just across the board. Like
Yeah.
they just don't play games that have endings, really. They play a lot of online multiplayer stuff. So like, they both really got into it, and I would watch them play, and I'm like, I really should play this, and then I would play it, and I'm like, I'm bored.
They got
Yeah.
some good taste.
This world is not fun to explore.
Cork, are you not a superhero guy?
I love superheroes.
Okay. Wasn't sure.
You are a superhero.
He just likes cool superheroes, not
Yeah.
Spider-Man.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
There's a lot to love in Spider-Man. I liked the free-form combat. I feel like they captured Spider-Man's vibe super well of like swinging through, kicking a guy, webbing him up, slamming him down. The way you combo everything, I think, was really cleverly designed. But
And,
the
like,
story didn't stick with me.
Oh, really? Well, because people usually praise the story, especially for like superhero games in particular. They aren't notable for their story. I think even like the Arkham games like have a competent story, but like I think Spider-Man crossed the line into like, hey, this is actually a good story. Like I think I like these characters and I like what they did, and it had some interesting plot moments.
I would say that's one of my favorite representations of that character, like in the last, actually like ever, because more so than in the movies. And I don't know. I like Yuri Lowenthal.
That's right.
Yeah.
Dear friend.
Yeah.
Met him once on the cover trip.
No, there you
Dear
go.
friend.
Yeah.
Red Dead Redemption 2 was the other one that year. Between that and God of War.
That was game of the year. Red Dead 2 for sure.
That's
Certainly mine.
to back up for just 1 second. I think that we may have said this on the podcast before, but I think in any other year that did not have sort of game of the generation juggernauts like God of War and Red Dead 2, that Spider-Man would have been.
Oh yeah, I felt bad
Like
for Spider-Man.
everyone,
Yeah.
if you say God of War and Red Dead did not come out that year, if we would have gone into those end of year meetings, I feel like Spider-Man would have been a slam dunk that everyone would have been happy with.
Well, like if
for
Spider-Man
game of
came
the
out
year.
this year, like it came out 3 months later, I think it would have been in contention for our game of the year, probably our game of the year.
Yeah,
This
that's
year,
a good
I'm
point.
saying.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's certainly in the same, on a similar level of the things that we were talking about.
I think you're totally right. Yeah. Yeah, Red Dead 2, it was kind of the breath of the wild of its year in that it had people who thought it was the best thing games had ever produced, and there were people who hated it.
People who were wrong.
The difference between this and 2017 was we had God of War, which was universally beloved.
Yeah. I love God of
Universally.
War. I think God of War is a phenomenal game. So nothing against God of War. I don't think it takes anything away from it. But like, I think Red Dead 2 just edges it out.
Yeah.
One of the hard things about those fights is you end up like feeling obligated to say bad things about something that you really like in defense of something else you really like.
Yeah.
Because once I finished Red Dead 2, it was clear this is one of my favorite games of all time.
Yeah, Kratos is a bad dad. Yeah. Right? A mean man.
No, but at the same time, I liked God of War just a little better.
Yeah.
So like for me, God of War I was championing that one. That was my personal favorite game of the year. But Red Dead was right there at number 2, and it was a close race.
Yeah.
Those are just both fantastic games.
I feel like God of War was more of like a game, whereas like, it had some of the conventions of I mean, every game does, but whereas Red Dead 2 really felt like an experience, if that makes sense.
Yeah. God of War was hard to dump on, certainly. Red Dead Redemption 2, you could very easily
Right.
poke holes because it was trying so many new things.
I don't
God
like
of
the way
War,
he picks stuff up.
Well, and
Yeah.
I think that was the big problem with it is like both of them are like working on all cylinders and just like mastercraft games. Nobody on staff had anything bad to say about God of War, but
right.
there were
Even I, who did not, it's not my type of game. I bounced right off it and didn't like it. I can't make an argument for why it's not our game of the year.
But there were a small number of staff members who had some things to say against Red Dead.
Yeah.
And so I think that was one of the tipping points is why we went with God of War.
Yeah. And part of the problem with Red Dead and what makes it hard to fight for in a matchup between those two, I thought, was the fact that it's one of those games that takes, I think, 15 or 20 hours to start showing you what it's really doing well, to lay the foundation for where it's eventually going to go. That's so great.
Yeah.
But in that first stretch of time, it feels like a bit of a slog.
Oh,
I thought.
Yeah,
For me,
it was
that
like
slog-
5 hours. 5 hours I didn't like, and then I was on board.
For me, that slog felt like the whole game. Like I just like it never clicked with me, and like it just felt like it was kind of wasting my time at points. And
Yeah.
just like it was a slower paced game that I never adapted to, and like it wasn't for me. But that's fine.
The way I look at it is that people had to hate it for me to like it so much. Like they chose to make it so slow, which I adored about it, and then that makes people bounce off it, and they're not wrong to.
And there's something there's a moment that I think probably comes at a different time for everyone who plays it, or maybe never, where you start to realize that the benefit of that slow buildup at the beginning, where suddenly you're walking around the camp and you know your way around the camp and you're eager to talk to these people who are hanging around the camp, and you have a sense of place in the world and the geography of the landscape and stuff that you've gained because you can't fast travel, and like all of these things that feel restrictive early on suddenly you realize are all in service to just building a sense of place and immersion that is really what that game does so well.
And it's got so much great story. It felt like I was inside of my favorite TV show. Just this big ensemble cast where these two will pair off and have a little adventure, or I'll go off by myself and have a Monster of the Week style adventure with like the Night Folk or the vampires. There's so much good writing in that game.
And it all feels organic.
It does. Yeah.
I'd rather hang out with Arthur Morgan than Kratos.
Yes, correct.
I'd rather he be my dad than Kratos.
Be my dad.
Well, he might be a better father than Kratos, but you think he'd be a good dad? I don't know.
Yeah.
By
Depends how you
chapter
play
5,
them.
probably.
Chapter 5,
Yeah.
absentee father.
The nun scene at the end is one of my all-time favorite moments in games.
Yeah. So, because it takes place over such a long period of time. There's such good cathartic like payoff to these long threads
Yeah.
that really reward you doing everything in this massive, massive game. But Monster Hunter World.
I like that game.
You know, maybe this
Controversial.
isn't such a good idea for a podcast.
What do you want from me?
Monster Hunter World.
It's all like that's exactly my point. It's like, what else can you do except say, yeah, that's good.
that was going to be Monster Hunter World was going to be the Monster Hunter that I got into. I played it. I tried it a few other times. It had never really clicked, and everyone was like, "This is gonna like it's kind of now or never. This is
the time.
You're gonna like it now, or it maybe just isn't for you." And I played it for 10 hours, and I think it just isn't for me.
Yeah. The monster fights are so long. If you're not adoring every moment of it, you spend a lot of time doing it.
To me, what held me back, I think, is the repetition, the necessity of, I'm going to go back and do the same fight again and again, but kill the monster in different ways, and to get slightly different materials to grind to get this set of armor that I'm eventually going to replace with a better set of armor in a few, if that's your loop, I would rather get better armor in a few hours because I'm doing new stuff rather than, I don't know.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
That's not the most fully formed argument, but to me, I guess
It's just not for you.
maybe it's because I'm so compulsive, and when I see, hey, there's new armor I can get, I just immediately feel like I have to go back and do that same mission again and again and again until I'm optimized, and then I move forward.
Right, yeah, because you really don't have to. But yeah, I see what you mean. Assassin's Creed Odyssey 2018. Love that game.
Yeah.
We talked about it already.
Awesome game. Yeah.
Far Cry 5. How does history remember that?
It's a very
Seminal?
frustrating experience because I think that so many parts of that game, like I think that area is like it's so gorgeous, and the moving around that world is fun. Like you have a lot of really great vehicles and everything, but I think that story, and I understand a lot of people are like, "Hey, don't play it for the story," but it's like your story keeps interrupting me.
Yeah.
While I'm out there having fun, like I'm flying a plane and I'm suddenly knocked unconscious and tied to a chair. How did you get in the plane with me, sir? So like, if you're going to interrupt me with your story, have a good story.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
they pull that gimmick off several times.
Yeah,
You're like,
you're
this is the
constantly
exact
being-
same
It's
gimmick,
how they
guys.
tell the story. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like
Stop kidnapping me.
a mechanic. Very, very
And also
frustrating.
that ending, no spoilers, but like it is bonkers. I remember like texting Cork when it happened. I was like, "What happened? Like this is how it ends."
They spoiled it by making Far Cry New Dawn. So I
They
think it's okay to
did,
spoil
but in
it.
case somebody's stayed away. But it's
Okay.
it's weird.
Yeah.
It's
There are so many good parts about it. But
They
yeah.
spoiled
Yep.
it to a degree, but like just it still comes out of nowhere at the end of the game.
Sure.
Is, I
Celeste.
guess what's weird.
Celeste was
Celeste is
2018.
a great one.
That game's great.
It really is.
I still listen to that soundtrack when I'm editing or
Yep,
just
me too.
doing-
100%. Great
driving
music.
home. Yeah.
Into the Breach was 2018.
Oh, that's a great game.
Game's great. Again, it's best to play it on Switch now that it's on Switch. I recommend it. Dragon Ball Fighter Z.
But people wouldn't stop talking about that in the office.
Yeah,
I don't know.
That was real.
That's
popular.
another one where not for me.
Yeah. Dragon Ball Fighter Z still maybe the most beautiful game there's ever been.
Looks good.
It's
Looks really
awesome.
cool.
Yeah.
I mean, I think you can certainly make a case for it as the most faithful like adaptation, like visually representing the thing it's. Yeah,
I don't know. It looks better to me than the original work, than the anime.
Okay.
Than the comic.
Yeah, I don't know. It's because it's got, you
I
know,
guess-
it's obviously it's 3D and cell shaded.
I
so
guess
it's a
I don't
little
mean
different.
duplicating the look of the original as much as like bringing a world to life.
Sure, representing it.
Yeah.
I feel you. Detroit Become Human obviously changed the way we look at video games.
I wonder, did
Forever.
I don't even
That was-
remember. Did that end up making our top 50?
It made it. It
Yes.
was somewhat contentious. Of like several people did not want it on the list.
Yeah.
Yeah, they talk about that on the min-max version of this episode. they talk about fighting against it.
I think it does all but have a character hold a sign that says "down with racism."
I had not finished it at the time. I did go back and finish it, and I was like, I wish I had had some more ammo to fight it off the list. Honestly, just
Yeah.
because like it's so dumb and like the story writing is dumb, and sometimes doesn't connect with itself in weird ways. But I don't know, whatever at this point.
And it would struck me that it's such a race allegory, and then our 2 people of color on staff hated it and didn't want it on the list. And I felt like that says a lot about how successful it was in its storytelling.
I think I was a defender for it. I regret that a little bit now.
I think I got it. No, I couldn't have bought it full price, but I definitely bought it. But it's still sitting on my shelf in the wrapping. Like I don't know why. I just
Can you
never-
still return it?
go
dude,
check? Yeah.
GameStop has a
should.
great return policy.
Yeah.
It's weird how focused you can get in some of these a little bit behind the scenes of just like when we have these discussions about whether or not something makes the list. It can be difficult to zoom out sometimes and say, look, in the grand scheme of things, how important is it whether or not Detroit Become Human is on this top 50? And because it's a thing that everyone on staff is engaged with and talking about in that moment, suddenly it becomes like,
Feels important.
Automatic.
yeah, it feels important in your mind. It feels like a thing that I need to fight for. And I wish at the time I would have zoomed out a little more and realized, like, man, whether it's on or not is not important.
See, I zoomed way out for the 2019 discussion.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there were some moments where I was like, well, Cork's checked out now.
Yeah,
That happens.
yeah, it doesn't matter.
Nothing does.
Thank you.
Return of the Obra Dinn, 2018.
Oh, that was so good.
Yeah, that game was
Incredible.
great. That was way up high on my list.
I put it on my top 10 before I finished it, and then I finished it, and I loved it 10 times as much.
For the people who aren't familiar with it, what is that one again? That's the
Return of the Obra Dinn is the game that has a sort of old school Macintosh visual look of like black and white. But I mean, you
3D.
move around in 3D, but when you stop moving, it looks like a still from an old Mac like adventure
Yeah.
game.
It's sort of a detective game because you are insurance adjuster,
Yeah,
and
you're
you
an
go to
insurance
this ship that's been abandoned. And you try to figure out like what happened to the crew because everybody's dead or missing, and you're slowly like checking off. You have to investigate every area of the ship, and it slowly opens up new areas, and you have to figure out which body belongs to who, like what's their name, and then also what they died from. So it's an interesting like puzzle there.
It's ultimately a game of guess who, because what you have is a ship manifest with all the people's names, but you have to figure out, who, like what name goes with which person, and then deduce how that person dies. And the way you do it is by exploring these snapshots in time. You can move around in 3D, but nothing around you is moving. You're just looking around a 3D scene from the past about various accidents and other things. I don't want to spoil it for people because
right.
it's cool.
But every 3 fates, it's every 3, right? It gets locked in?
Right.
It's like you don't know if you're doing the correct thing until you've done 3 fates correctly, and then there's this
It locks
great
them in.
music that plays, and it shows them getting turned from written to like typeface.
So
and
there-
it is like the best I ever felt that year was when
Feels
stuff got
so
locked in
good.
Obra Dinn.
Oh, it's
yes.
so good. And I worked hard to avoid the temptation to brute force it because you can do a thing where it's like, okay, I know these 2 are correct, so I'm going to experiment with these 2 and see if one of them locks in as being right.
Yeah.
Like I had to do that in one case, but I was like, that's just you feel so bad because like Leo says, it's such a satisfying feeling. But when you cheated the system a little bit, it's like,
Yeah.
oh, I kind of wish I didn't learn it that way. And
Totally. Yeah, I had to stop myself from doing that a few times.
But it has an actually a surprisingly interesting story more than you think going in. But you slowly like learn the narrative of as you piece together what happened to the crew, and it has like a through line from moment to moment. You're like, oh, this is what happened here, and it kind of led to this crazy event, and then these people left. Like it's really a neat experience. It is done by Lucas Pope, who did Papers, Please.
That's right.
This was his follow-up game.
And
Yeah.
if nothing else, you should go online and listen to the soundtrack. It is
Definitely.
fantastic.
I love the fates where you think you get it right away and then you find out later looking at it from a different angle. It's like, oh, it's not as simple as it seems.
Yeah.
And one of those was the last fate I solved in the whole game, and I felt like a genius when I finally cracked it. God, so many fond memories of that game. Hitman 2 2018 for Leo. Shadow of the Tomb Raider 2018. They made that for Leo. Sea of Thieves 2018. That's good now.
It was Leo's year.
It's good now.
Congrats, Leo, on a great 2018.
Here's to more.
Plenty of good stuff here. Florence, Donut County,
Yeah.
Kirby Star Allies, Iconoclast,
I think
Recipes Cal Hilliard.
Thronebreaker came out that year, right? That was a late edition, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, The Witcher.
Yeah, the Witcher
card
game?
game.
Card
Yeah.
game story, which I really
Yeah,
liked. I
the
didn't play
Gwent
it
campaign.
until this year, like early in the year, but I was like, man, I wish I played it earlier because it would have made my top 10.
Yeah. But so 2018, yeah, God of War, you know, some of us have our issues with it, but can't argue. God of War is a great game. Unless you're me and you didn't like it. 2019.
2019.
We're about to have the exclusive reveal of our 2019 Game of the Year.
What?
That's right. We ended up giving it to Control.
Ta-da!
Congrats, Control.
Congrats, Control. That's one of our, we're doing Game of the Year videos right now where we talk about a bunch of our favorite games of the year and sit down and play them. And going back to Control, because I haven't played it in, a good few months, probably half the year, really feels great. And just the way it looks, the way that particles and pieces of paper flying around whenever you interact with it in a physicsy way, that game is a really great achievement.
They have really cool effects, whatever they're doing over there. They
Yeah.
have really cool effects, shots, or whatever you call them. Effects.
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 Yeah.
They're really good.
Most ambitious game Remedy's done, and I am impressed how well they pulled it off. Certainly. Was there any beef with that choice for you guys this year? We don't have to talk about all the games that came out in 2019 because we've been doing that the last few months on the podcast.
Right.
I really liked Control. I reviewed it. I gave it a pretty good score, and it's on my list. I think the one that in my heart is a better game was Resident Evil 2. I get that everybody... It wasn't for everybody, though, and I think Control has a wider audience. But
Wider,
Resident
you
Evil
said?
2, wider.
Oh, okay.
But Resident Evil
boy.
2 is just, I don't know, I think a much better, more polished game. We're also doing a video on that. You should check it out.
Yes.
Resident Evil 2, great game.
Choose for yourself.
Yeah, up to you.
No, this is an example of a case where the way we approach Game of the Year stuff is, like as a staff, we discuss the winners of various categories, what should be Game of the Year, which means like not everyone can play everything.
Certainly.
And this was a case where I saw like a lot of people were playing and enjoying Control, and I made the call to just focus my efforts elsewhere, which let me play.
Sure.
Which let me play games that maybe other people didn't play as deeply, like Disco Elysium and The Outer World.
Which, got great representation on our awards.
150 hours of Stardew Valley.
I played a lot of Dragon's Dogma earlier this year on Switch, but no. So that was one where I couldn't speak to it personally
Yeah.
for Control, but judging by the enthusiasm for everyone on staff who did, it was like, well, that seems like a great choice to me.
Yeah, another very solid game. Can't poke a hole in it. Really, really exceptional. What do you guys think about the year overall? I thought it was really strong. I had a tough time narrowing it down to 10.
People kept saying it was a weaker year, and I think compared to the last 2 years, maybe it's weaker than the last two. But like overall, I think it's a pretty strong year. There's just a lot of great games.
Yeah, if you're looking for them, like a lot of my top 10 were indies, and I think it was a great year for those.
Yeah, I would argue that last 2 years had higher highs, but I thought this year was more consistent.
I think you're right. Yeah, there was hardly a downtime this year. Whereas like last summer, all I could do was play Siege. That was the only game I was interested in.
Yeah.
But 8-Bout was my game of the year, and if you want to hear us talk more about Titanfall 2, go watch that game of the year video. Because for some reason it comes up.
It's a wonderful tangent. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good.
But yeah, those videos are all very fun. Please watch them. This is a fun episode of a podcast that I've done with my friends.
Wait, hey, Cork, you didn't get to talk about your game of the year, right?
Oh, Days Gone.
Yeah. Why did you like Days Gone? That was a game that came out this year. That
Yeah, this is your last chance to say some really nice stuff about Days Gone. I'd like to hear it.
I think it's just You know how like some games you play it and you're like, this is designed for me. I just feel that way about Days Gone in a lot of ways. You know, it has like elements that I like from other zombie games. Like it has like the massive swarms of zombies from the Dead Rising series, which I love. It has some of the like foraging and survival elements that I think the first State of Decay and to a lesser degree State of Decay 2 had in them. And I just like the characters a lot. I like riding around on a motorcycle and doing a little of that. I think it's like surprising in a lot of ways, some interesting stuff in the story, and I loved it. Also, everyone should play Hypnospace Outlaw.
Yes.
You and I.
Yeah, we got it on our top 10s.
Yeah.
Joe, Disco Elysium was your game of the year, right?
That was mine. Yep.
Alex, what was yours?
Mine was Outer Worlds. I just felt right at home, and I loved the setting. It was an Alex game.
I was so sure mine was going to be The Outer Worlds until I played Disco Elysium, and then like after a month passed and looked back on both of them, it became a lot clearer to me which one was the winner. But it was a dead heat for a while there.
Yeah, sign of a great year.
Outer Worlds number 2
Oh, cool.
for you, right?
Yeah.
He means it's
I thought
poop.
Oh no! I take a number 2 on it.
No, Ben.
That's your cool character, Ben. I like
Gross.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, you should flesh that out.
Yeah.
Take it to some open mic nights. Triumph, the comic man.
This doesn't work as well.
I don't understand. Why isn't it clicking? Why aren't people laughing? They're just pointing
You're supposed to be laughing.
with their jaw open.
But obviously, Anthem should have won Game of the Year.
Wah, wah.
Hey.
Thanks for watching, everybody. This was very fun. Talking about games, baby. Next week, we're going to be looking forward to 2020. We're going to be kind of rattling off the release calendar, and that is a very fun chat. Spoilers. But see you next Thursday. This was fun, and I love you. Bye.